Have you ever laid awake at night, your mind a relentless storm of thoughts, replaying the day's events, worrying about tomorrow's uncertainties? You are not alone in this silent struggle. In the quiet hours of the night, when the world outside sleeps, our inner world often becomes a theater of anxieties, regrets and fears. But what if you could transform this restless time into a period of profound healing and mental fortification? What if, as you drift into slumber, you could absorb the timeless wisdom of the ancients, allowing their words to act as a balm for your soul, strengthening you from within? This is not just a pleasant thought, it is a possibility rooted in the powerful philosophy of Stoicism. Tonight, you are invited on a journey, a passage into the heart of wisdom that has guided emperors, artists, and thinkers through the most turbulent of times. You don't need to strive or struggle. You only need to listen, to allow these lessons to seep into the fertile ground of your subconscious, reshaping your perspective as you rest. The teachings you are about to hear are designed not just to bring you peaceful sleep, but to help you awaken with a renewed sense of clarity, resilience, and inner peace. These are not mere words. They are the seeds of a stronger, more serene tomorrow. So take a deep breath, release the tensions of the day, and let us begin this journey together into the heart of Stoic wisdom, crafting a better tomorrow tonight. Lesson 1. The inner citadel, your unbreachable fortress. Within you, at the very core of your being, exists a fortress. It is a place of absolute safety, a sanctuary of calm that no external event, no person, and no twist of fate can ever breach. This is your inner citadel, your ruling faculty, the seat of your consciousness and your reason. The great Stoic thinkers taught that while the world outside is in constant flux, unpredictable, chaotic, and often harsh, our inner world is entirely our own domain. We cannot always control the storms that rage around us, but we can always control the state of our inner fortress. This is the first and most fundamental lesson for a peaceful life. The recognition that your true home, your ultimate refuge, is within you. Most of our suffering arises from a mistaken identity. We believe we are the things that happen to us. We think we are our jobs, our relationships, our successes, and our failures. We tether our sense of self to the shifting sands of the external world, and so when those sands shift, we feel lost, broken, and vulnerable. But you are not the storm. You are the unshakable lighthouse that stands firm amidst the crashing waves. Your light, your consciousness, your ability to reason and choose is constant. The storm will pass, the waves will recede, but the lighthouse remains. To cultivate this inner citadel is the work of a lifetime, but it begins with a simple act of awareness. Every day, you are presented with countless opportunities to either fortify your inner citadel or leave its gates open to invasion. When someone criticizes you, do you allow their words to penetrate your walls and cause turmoil within? Or do you observe their opinion as an external event, something that has no power over the truth of who you are? When you face a setback, do you see it as a declaration of your failure or as an opportunity to test the strength of your inner foundations? Imagine a king in his castle. Outside the walls, armies may gather, catapults may launch their stones, and the sounds of battle may fill the air. The king cannot always stop the siege, but he can control the goings-on within his castle. He can ensure his soldiers are well fed, his defenses are strong, and his spirit remains unbroken. You are that king, and your mind is that castle. The external world will always lay siege in one form or another. It will present you with challenges, with temptations, with losses. but you have the sovereign power to decide how you respond from within your citadel. You can choose reason over reactivity. You can choose peace over panic. You can choose virtue over vice. This is not about building walls of indifference or apathy. It is about building foundations of strength and wisdom. The inner citadel is not a place of escape, but a place of command. From this centered, secure place, you can engage with the world more effectively, more compassionately, and more courageously. You act not from a place of fear or desperation, but from a place of clarity and strength. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, visualize this fortress within you. See its strong walls, its calm courtyards, its watchtower of awareness. Feel the unshakable peace that resides at its core. This is your birthright. It is the part of you that remains untouched by the chaos of the world. As you breathe, feel yourself retreating into this sacred space, letting go of the external noise, the worries, the day's battles. In your inner citadel, you are safe. You are whole. You are at peace. Let this be your final thought as you drift into sleep, that no matter what tomorrow brings, no matter the storms that may gather on the horizon, you have a place of refuge that can never be taken from you. You have an inner citadel, and by returning to it again and again, you will find the strength not just to endure, but to flourish. You will awaken tomorrow, not just rested, but reinforced, ready to face the world not as a victim of its whims, but as the calm and capable master of your own soul. This is the first step toward a better tomorrow, a step taken in the quiet sanctuary of your own mind tonight. Lesson 2. The power of perception. It's not things, but judgments. Have you ever noticed how two people can experience the exact same event, yet react in completely different ways? One person might lose their job and see it as a devastating failure, a crushing blow to their identity. Another person, faced with the same circumstance, might see it as a liberating opportunity, a chance to pursue a long-held dream or pivot to a more fulfilling career. The event itself, the loss of a job, is neutral. It is simply a fact. What creates the emotional reality of joy or despair, of devastation or liberation, is not the event itself, but the judgment we attach to it. This profound insight is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, a lesson that holds the key to unlocking immense personal freedom and emotional resilience. The wise ancients taught us that we are not disturbed by things, but by the opinions we have about things. Our minds are constantly interpreting the world around us, assigning labels of good or bad, fair or unfair, fortunate or unfortunate to every experience. These judgments, often automatic and unexamined, are the true source of our emotional turmoil. When you feel anger, it is not the external trigger that is the anger itself. It is your judgment that something unjust has occurred. When you feel anxiety, it is not the future event that is the anxiety. It is your judgment that you will be unable to cope. This is an incredibly empowering realization. If our suffering is caused by our judgments, and our judgments are products of our own minds, then it follows that we have the power to change our suffering. We are not passive victims of circumstance. We are the active creators of our emotional experience. Imagine your mind is a canvas, and every external event is a splash of paint. The paint itself has no inherent meaning. It is you, the artist, who decides how to use it. You can choose to see a chaotic mess, or you can choose to see the beginnings of a beautiful, complex masterpiece. You hold the brush. You control the narrative. The practice of mastering perception begins with awareness. It requires you to become an observer of your own thoughts, to notice the stories you tell yourself about the events in your life. When you feel a strong negative emotion rising, pause. Take a step back from the immediacy of the feeling and ask yourself, what is the objective fact of this situation, and what is the judgment I am adding to it? For example, the objective fact might be, my car has a flat tire. The judgment might be, this is a disaster. My whole day is ruined. Why do these things always happen to me? By separating the fact from the judgment, you create a space. In that space, you have a choice. You can choose to cling to the catastrophic judgment, feeding the feelings of frustration and helplessness, or you can choose a different perception. You could see the flat tire as an inconvenience, certainly, but also as an opportunity to practice patience, to learn a new skill by changing it yourself, or even to enjoy an unexpected walk. This is not about pretending that negative events are positive. It is not about toxic positivity or denying reality. A flat tire is still a flat tine. A loss is still a loss. The Stoics were realists. They understood that life contains real hardship. The lesson is about choosing not to add a second layer of self-inflicted suffering on top of the event itself. The first arrow of misfortune may be unavoidable, but the second arrow, the arrow of our own negative judgment, is one we shoot at ourselves. You have the power to put down the bow. Tonight, as your mind begins to quiet, reflect on the day that has passed. Think of a moment that caused you stress or unease. Can you identify the objective event? Can you identify the judgment you attach to it? Now, in the calm of this moment, see if you can offer yourself a different perspective, a different story. Not to change the past, but to train your mind for the future. Let this practice be a gentle exercise in reclaiming your power. As you drift into sleep, let the understanding sink deep into your subconscious. You are the interpreter of your world. You are the one who gives meaning to the events of your life. And by choosing your perceptions wisely, by focusing on what is true and letting go of what is merely a story, you can navigate life with a profound sense of peace and freedom. You will awaken tomorrow with a new tool, the ability to see things not just as they seem, but as you choose them to be. You will be one step closer to becoming the calm, resilient architect of your own well-being. Lesson 3. Amor fati, learning to love your fate. Imagine for a moment that every single thing that has ever happened in your life, every triumph, every heartbreak, every mistake, every unexpected turn, was not a random occurrence, but a necessary part of your journey, perfectly designed to bring you to this exact moment. Imagine that you could look back not with regret or longing, but with a deep, unwavering acceptance and even love for everything that has been. This is the essence of one of the most powerful and challenging Stoic concepts, Amor fati, the love of one's fate. It is the practice of not just accepting what happens, but embracing it, loving it, and seeing it as essential to your very being. Most of us live in a state of quiet resistance to our own lives. We wish our past had been different. We resent our present circumstances. We fear what the future might hold. This constant struggle against reality is a profound source of our suffering. We are like swimmers fighting against a powerful current, exhausting ourselves in a futile battle against the inevitable flow of the river. Amor fati invites us to stop fighting. It asks us to turn around and flow with the current, to trust that the river knows its course and that its course is our own. It is a radical form of acceptance that transforms our relationship with life itself. It is not about passive resignation or a sense of helplessness. On the contrary, Amor fati is an act of immense strength and courage. It requires us to say yes to life in its entirety, with its beauty and its pain, its light and its darkness. It means understanding that you cannot cherry-pick your experiences. You cannot have the strength that comes from overcoming adversity without the adversity itself. You cannot know the depth of joy without having experienced the sorrow that gives it contrast. The philosopher who famously championed this idea taught that one should want nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. This is not a call to inaction. You still have the power to choose, to act, to strive to build a better future. The Stoics were firm believers in duty and action, but the practice of Amor fati applies to what has already happened and what is beyond your control. It is about making peace with the unchangeable tapestry of your existence. Think of your life as a great work of art. A masterpiece is not made of only bright, happy colors. It requires shadows, dark tones, and contrasting hues to create depth, texture, and meaning. Your struggles, your failures, your moments of pain, these are the shadows that give your life its richness and complexity. To wish them away would be to diminish the masterpiece that is you. To practice Amor fati, you can begin with a simple, reflective exercise. Think of a challenge you have faced in your past, something that at the time felt like a terrible misfortune. Now, trace its consequences. What did you learn from it? How did it make you stronger? What unexpected doors did it open? What good things in your life today would not exist without that past difficulty? More often than not, you will find that the very events you once cursed have become the foundations of your current strengths and blessings. Tonight, as you lie in the stillness, let this idea gently envelop you. Let go of the fight against your own story. Embrace every chapter, every sentence, every word. See the perfection in its imperfection. Whisper to yourself, "This was my life, and I would not have it any other way." Let this profound acceptance be the lullaby that carries you into sleep. By loving your fate, you are not surrendering to it. You are aligning with it. You are becoming a willing partner with the universe. You free yourself from the immense burden of regret and resentment, and you unlock a new level of peace and power. You will awaken tomorrow not as a passive victim of destiny, but as a joyful co-creator of your life, ready to embrace whatever comes next with an open heart and an unshakable spirit. You will know that whatever happens, it is part of your path, and your path is good. This is the transformative power of Amor fati. Lesson 4. The view from above. Gaining cosmic perspective. In the hustle and bustle of our daily lives, our worlds can become very small. A missed deadline, a thoughtless comment from a colleague, a traffic jam. These minor events can swell in our minds, taking on monstrous proportions and consuming our emotional energy. We become trapped in the minutiae of our own personal dramas, losing sight of the vast, awe-inspiring reality that surrounds us. The Stoics offered a powerful antidote to this narrowness of vision, a practice known as the view from above. This is a meditative exercise where you imagine your consciousness expanding, rising higher and higher, until you can see your own life, your community, your country, and eventually the entire Earth from a cosmic perspective. Imagine yourself floating gently upwards, leaving your room, your home, your city behind. Watch as the familiar streets become a grid, the buildings shrink to the size of toys, and the great landscapes of your country unfold beneath you. Keep rising. See the continents take shape, the vast blue oceans stretching between them. The earth becomes a beautiful, swirling marble of white clouds and deep blue, suspended in the silent, infinite blackness of space. From this vantage point, where are you? Where are your problems? The argument you had this morning, the worry about next month's bills, the anxieties about your future, from this cosmic height, they become almost invisible, like single grains of sand on an endless beach. This exercise is not meant to diminish the reality of your problems or to suggest that they don't matter. They do matter to you in your life, but the view from above provides crucial perspective. It reminds you of the immense scale of the universe and the fleeting nature of your own existence within it. From this perspective, the things that cause you so much stress and turmoil are revealed for what they are, temporary and small. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher who practiced this very exercise wrote in his meditations about seeing human life as a mere point in the vastness of time, our planet, a mere speck in the cosmos. This was not a source of despair for him, but a source of tranquility. By understanding his own smallness, he was liberated from the tyranny of his own ego and the weight of his worldly concerns. When you take the view from above, several transformative things happen. First, your ego softens. The all-consuming importance of your personal desires, fears, and grievances begins to dissolve. You recognize that you are part of something much, much larger than yourself, a member of the vast human family, and a citizen of the cosmos. This fosters a sense of humility and interconnectedness. Second, your anxieties shrink. The future you worry about is just a tiny sliver of infinite time. The social approval you crave is the opinion of a handful of people on a planet of billions. The problems that seem so overwhelming are put into a context that makes them manageable. They lose their power to dominate your mind. Third, your sense of awe and wonder is reignited. You reconnect with the profound mystery and beauty of existence. You remember that you are a participant in a magnificent cosmic drama, a temporary consciousness gifted with the ability to witness the universe. This can bring a deep sense of gratitude and joy, replacing petty worries with a feeling of profound peace. Tonight, as you settle into bed, you can practice this yourself. Close your eyes and begin your ascent. Let your mind soar. Travel past the moon, the planets, the sun, out into the star-filled expanse of the Milky Way. See our galaxy as just one of countless others, a swirling island of light in an endless sea of darkness. Float in that silence for a moment. Feel the profound peace of that infinite space. Then, gently begin your descent, returning to your galaxy, your solar system, your planet, your home, your room. Bring that sense of cosmic peace back with you. Let it settle into your heart and mind. You will find that the problems waiting for you have not disappeared, but your relationship to them has changed. They are no longer the center of your universe. You are. And you are a part of a universe so vast and wonderful that your temporary struggles can be faced with a new sense of calm, courage, and perspective. You will fall asleep not as a prisoner of your small worries, but as a free citizen of the cosmos. And you will awaken ready to live with that same expansive, peaceful, and wise perspective. Lesson 5. The Inner Dialogue. Taming your ruling faculty. Within the silent theater of your mind, a constant dialogue is unfolding. A voice, or perhaps many voices, narrates your life, judges your actions, worries about the future, and ruminates on the past. This inner monologue is your ruling faculty, the control center of your consciousness. For many of us, this inner dialogue is not a kind or wise guide. It is often a harsh critic, a fearful catastrophizer, a relentless worrier. It whispers doubts, fuels anxieties, and replays our mistakes on an endless loop. The Stoics understood that mastering this inner dialogue is the key to mastering life itself. They believed that our reason, our ability to think and choose, is the divine spark within us. But if this faculty is left untrained, it can become our greatest tormentor. The path to a tranquil mind, therefore, is the path of taming this inner voice, transforming it from a source of turmoil into a source of wisdom and strength. This process begins, once again, with awareness. You cannot change a conversation you don't realize you're having. The first step is to become a detached observer of your own thoughts. Practice listening to your inner dialogue as if you were listening to another person. What is its tone? Is it compassionate or critical? Is it rational or reactive? Does it build you up or tear you down? Simply noticing these patterns without judgment is a powerful act. It creates a separation between you, the conscious observer, and the thoughts themselves. You realize that you are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. This separation gives you the power to intervene. Once you are aware of the nature of your inner dialogue, you can begin to consciously challenge and reframe it. The Stoics called this practice turning obstacles upside down or cognitive reframing. When the inner voice presents a catastrophic thought, such as, "If I fail this presentation, my career is over," you can gently challenge it. Is that really true? What is a more rational, balanced perspective? A more rational thought might be, "If I don't do well, I will be disappointed, but I can learn from it and do better next time. It is not the end of my career." Think of your mind as a garden. If you let it go untended, weeds will inevitably grow. These weeds are the negative, irrational, and unhelpful thoughts. Taming your inner dialogue is the act of gardening. You must consciously pull the weeds and plant the seeds of more rational, virtuous, and peaceful thoughts. This is not a one-time task. It is a daily practice. The Stoics recommended specific exercises to train this ruling faculty. One such practice is the evening review. Before sleep, take a few moments to review your day. Ask yourself, what did I do well? Where did I act out of anger, fear, or greed? Where did I let my judgments get the better of me? This is not an exercise in self-flagellation. It is a compassionate and objective assessment, like a coach reviewing game footage with an athlete. The goal is to learn and improve, to understand your own patterns so you can do better tomorrow. Another powerful technique is to have a set of philosophical maxims or principles memorized. When you find your inner dialogue spiraling into negativity, you can call upon one of these principles to redirect your thoughts. A phrase like, "I cannot control the event, but I can control my response," can act as a powerful anchor in a sea of emotional turmoil. Tonight, as you lie in bed, pay gentle attention to the final thoughts of your day. Is your mind still racing with worries? Is it replaying conversations? Is it planning for tomorrow? Don't try to force the thoughts away. Simply observe them. Then, you might offer your mind a final, calming instruction, a Stoic lullaby. You could tell yourself, "The day is done. I did my best. The rest is not up to me. Now, it is time for peace." By consciously guiding your inner dialogue, especially in the moments before sleep, you are training your subconscious mind to adopt a more peaceful state. You are letting go of the reins of anxiety and taking up the reins of reason. You will find that your sleep becomes deeper, more restorative, and your mornings clearer and more focused. You will be building, thought by thought, a mind that is not your tormentor, but your greatest ally, your wisest counselor, and your most compassionate friend. This is the path to true inner mastery. Lesson 6. On duty. Finding purpose in responsibility. In our modern culture, the pursuit of happiness is often framed as a quest for personal fulfillment, passion, and excitement. We are told to follow our bliss and to seek out lives that are free from obligation and constraint. While there is value in passion, the Stoics offered a different, more robust foundation for a meaningful life: the concept of duty. For the Stoics, a good life was not about feeling good, but about doing good. It was about understanding your role in the cosmic order and fulfilling your responsibilities with excellence, integrity, and without complaint. This idea of duty, or oikeiosis in Greek, is not about drudgery or a joyless sense of obligation. It is the very source of purpose, dignity, and a deep, abiding sense of fulfillment. The Stoics believed that every human being has a series of roles to play in life. You are a child, perhaps a parent, a sibling, a friend, a neighbor, a citizen, a professional. Each of these roles comes with a set of natural duties. Your duty as a friend is to be loyal and supportive. Your duty as a citizen is to contribute to the common good. Your duty as a professional is to perform your work with competence and honesty. By understanding and embracing these duties, you find your place in the world. Your life is no longer a random series of events, but a meaningful path defined by your commitments to others and to the larger human community. This is a radical departure from the modern focus on self-actualization as a purely individualistic pursuit. The Stoic finds their purpose not by looking inward in isolation, but by looking outward to their relationships and their community. Their self-worth is derived not from what they can get, but from what they can give. A Roman emperor, one of the most powerful men in history, began each day by reminding himself of his duty. He would tell himself that he had to get out of bed to do the work of a human being, even when he didn't feel like it. His purpose was not found in the luxuries of his position, but in the responsibilities it entailed: to rule with justice, to protect his people, and to maintain the peace. He understood that a life of ease is often a life of emptiness, while a life of service is a life of meaning. Embracing your duty provides a powerful anchor in the storms of life. When you are feeling lost or aimless, you can always return to your responsibilities. You may not feel passionate about your job every single day, but you can always find purpose in doing it well. You may not always feel a surge of affection for your family, but you can always find meaning in caring for them. Duty provides a why that can help you endure almost any how. It transforms mundane tasks into acts of virtue. Washing the dishes is no longer a chore. It is an act of service to your family. Showing up to work on time is not just about a paycheck. It is an act of integrity. Participating in your community is not an obligation. It is an expression of your role as a citizen. This mindset imbues every part of your life with significance. Furthermore, focusing on your duties shields you from the anxieties of a life based on fleeting emotions. Happiness comes and goes. Passion wanes. But your commitment to your responsibilities can be a constant, steady source of self-respect and fulfillment. You are building your house on the solid rock of character, not the shifting sands of feeling. Tonight, as you reflect before sleep, consider your roles in life. What are your duties as a member of your family, your community, your profession? Do you see these as burdens or as opportunities for purpose? Can you reframe your responsibilities not as things you have to do, but as things you get to do? See them as the sacred threads that weave your life into the larger tapestry of humanity. Let this sense of purpose be a source of calm and strength. You are not adrift in a meaningless universe. You have a role to play, a contribution to make, and by playing your part with excellence and dedication, you are living a good and noble life. You will fall asleep with the deep satisfaction that comes from a day well lived, a day in which you fulfilled your purpose. And you will awaken with a clear sense of direction, ready to take up your duties once more, knowing that in doing so, you are walking the path of wisdom, virtue, and true fulfillment. Lesson 7. Memento mori, living with the end in mind. There is a simple, undeniable truth that modern culture goes to great lengths to ignore. You are going to die. This is not a morbid or pessimistic statement. For the Stoics, it was the most vital, life-affirming realization a person could have. The practice of memento mori, which translates to remember that you will die, was not about dwelling on death, but about using the awareness of our mortality to live a more vibrant, meaningful, and virtuous life. Most of us live as if we have an infinite amount of time. We postpone our dreams, we leave important words unsaid, we waste our days on trivialities, and we hold on to petty grudges. We act as if we can always make amends tomorrow, start that project next week, or tell someone we love them next year. The Stoics recognized this as the ultimate folly. They understood that time is our most precious, non-renewable resource, and the awareness of death is the ultimate motivator to use it wisely. By keeping the end in mind, we are forced to confront the essential questions of life. What truly matters? How do I want to spend my limited time on this earth? What is the legacy I want to leave behind? Memento mori acts as a filter, helping us to distinguish between the essential and the trivial. When you remember that your time is finite, the opinions of strangers on social media lose their power. The accumulation of material possessions seems less important. The fear of taking a calculated risk to pursue a dream begins to fade. What comes into sharp focus are the things that truly enrich our lives, our relationships, our character, our contributions to the world, and our own inner peace. The Roman philosopher who wrote extensively on this topic urged his friend to count each separate day as a separate life. This is a powerful instruction. It asks us to live with a sense of urgency and appreciation, to put our affairs in order every single day, as if it were our last. If you knew today was your last day, would you spend it arguing over petty disagreements? Would you waste it scrolling endlessly through your phone? Or would you seek to connect with those you love, to create something beautiful, to act with kindness and courage? The practice of memento mori is not meant to create anxiety or fear. In fact, it does the opposite. By confronting the reality of death, we can overcome our fear of it. Death is a natural part of life, the final chapter in every story. By accepting this, we are freed from the constant low-grade anxiety of trying to outrun the inevitable. We can live more boldly, more freely, knowing that the worst thing that can happen, death, is not a failure, but a natural conclusion. It allows us to appreciate the simple miracle of being alive. The breath in your lungs, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the taste of your food. These simple sensations become profound gifts when you remember they are temporary. Gratitude becomes a natural state of being. You can integrate this practice into your own life in simple ways. Some people keep a small object on their desk, a skull, a coin, as a physical reminder of their mortality. Others take a moment each morning to reflect on the fact that the day is not guaranteed. You can simply pause right now and contemplate this truth. Feel the reality of it, not as a scary thought, but as a clarifying one. Tonight, as you lie down to sleep, you can practice a gentle form of memento mori. Acknowledge that sleep is a small rehearsal for death. You are letting go of the day, surrendering consciousness, trusting that you will awaken. This nightly surrender can be a practice in accepting the larger surrender to come. Let the thought of your mortality bring you a sense of peace. You have lived this day. You have done what you could. Let go of its imperfections. If you are granted another day tomorrow, you will have another chance to live it well. This perspective dissolves regret and fosters a deep sense of peace. You will fall asleep not with a fear of the end, but with a profound appreciation for the present. You will awaken with a renewed sense of purpose, a clarity of what is truly important, and the motivation to live this precious, fleeting day with all the virtue, joy, and love you can muster. This is the paradoxical gift of remembering death. It is the secret to truly learning how to live. Lesson 8. On simplicity, finding freedom in less. We live in a world that worships at the altar of more success, more followers, more possessions, more experiences, more stimulation. We are conditioned to believe that happiness is something to be acquired, that it lies just beyond the next purchase, the next promotion, the next vacation. The result is a culture of perpetual striving, a restless and insatiable hunger that leaves us feeling constantly dissatisfied, cluttered, and overwhelmed. The Stoics offered a radical and liberating alternative to this endless pursuit, the virtue of simplicity. They taught that true wealth and freedom are not found in having more, but in needing less. Simplicity for the Stoics was not about asceticism or joyless deprivation. It was a clear-eyed and rational approach to life, a way of distinguishing between our natural, necessary desires and the artificial, unnecessary ones that society imposes upon us. A wise teacher of this philosophy famously said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." This single sentence turns our modern conception of wealth on its head. It suggests that poverty and riches are not external conditions, but internal states of mind. You can be a billionaire and feel impoverished because you are consumed by the desire for yet another billion. Or you can live a modest life and feel profoundly wealthy because your needs are simple and your heart is content. The pursuit of more is a trap. It is a hedonic treadmill where every new acquisition provides only a fleeting moment of satisfaction before the desire for something else arises. This cycle keeps us busy, stressed, and distracted from what truly matters, the quality of our character and the state of our soul. By consciously choosing simplicity, we step off this treadmill. We reclaim our time, our energy, and our attention from the endless pursuit of external things and redirect them toward our inner world. What does a simple life look like in practice? It starts with our possessions. The Stoics would advise us to look around our homes and ask of each object, is this truly necessary? Does this bring me genuine, lasting value, or is it just clutter? By letting go of the non-essential, we not only create physical space, but also mental space. A cluttered home often reflects a cluttered mind. Simplifying our physical environment can have a profound calming effect on our inner environment. Simplicity also extends to our schedules. In our culture, being busy is often worn as a badge of honor. We fill every moment with activities, obligations, and social engagements, leaving no room for quiet reflection or spontaneous joy. A Stoic approach would be to audit our commitments. Which activities are aligned with our virtues and our most important duties? Which are merely distractions or attempts to keep up with others? Saying no to the non-essential is a powerful act of simplicity and self-respect. It is a declaration that your time and attention are valuable. The simple life is also a life of simple pleasures. The Stoics were not opposed to pleasure, but they distinguished between natural pleasures and those that are artificial and inflammatory. The joy of a walk in nature, a deep conversation with a friend, a satisfying meal, the pursuit of knowledge, these are simple, wholesome pleasures that nourish the soul. The frantic pursuit of luxury, status, and extravagant entertainment, on the other hand, often leads to more anxiety than joy. By finding contentment in simple things, we make our happiness more resilient and accessible. It no longer depends on expensive or elaborate conditions. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, consider one area of your life where you could introduce more simplicity. Could you declutter a single drawer? Could you decline one unnecessary commitment this week? Could you find a moment to simply sit in silence without any stimulation? Let the idea of simplicity be a soothing thought. It is not about taking something away from your life. It is about making room for what truly matters. It is about letting go of the heavy burden of more and embracing the light, liberating freedom of enough. You will fall asleep feeling not a sense of lack, but a sense of spaciousness and peace. And you will awaken with a clearer mind, ready to focus your precious resources on the simple, essential elements of a good and virtuous life. This is the profound wealth that simplicity offers. Lesson 9. The obstacle is the way, turning hardship into triumph. Life, by its very nature, is filled with obstacles. We face challenges in our careers, our relationships, our health, and our personal growth. Our natural instinct is often to see these obstacles as impediments, as unfair roadblocks on our path to happiness. We resent them, we complain about them, we try to avoid them, and when we cannot, we often feel defeated by them. The Stoics, however, proposed a radical and empowering shift in perspective. They taught that the obstacle is not something that blocks the path. The obstacle is the path. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is not just a clever turn of phrase, it is a profound strategy for a resilient and virtuous life. It means that every single obstacle we encounter, no matter how daunting, is an opportunity. It is a chance to practice virtue, to develop strength, and to grow in wisdom. The obstacle is not a punishment from the universe, it is a curriculum designed for our own development. The Stoics believed that the universe is rational and ordered, therefore nothing happens by accident. The challenges we face are not random acts of cruelty, they are the very material we have been given to work with. A carpenter is not defined by the perfection of his wood, but by his skill in working with whatever wood he is given, with all its knots and imperfections. Similarly, we are not defined by the ease of our circumstances, but by the character we display in facing the circumstances we are given. When you adopt this mindset, your entire relationship with adversity changes. A difficult boss is no longer just a source of frustration. They are an opportunity to practice patience and professionalism. A financial setback is not a failure. It is an opportunity to practice frugality and resilience. A health crisis is not a tragedy. It is an opportunity to practice courage and appreciate the gift of life. Every obstacle becomes a training ground for the soul. This philosophy has been embodied by countless great figures throughout history. Think of individuals who faced immense adversity, political persecution, physical disability, profound loss, and not only endured it, but used it as fuel for their greatest achievements. They did not become great in spite of their obstacles. They became great because of them. The obstacle became their way. How can you apply this transformative principle in your own life? It begins with a change in your inner dialogue. The next time you face a challenge, catch the initial thought of, "This is terrible," or "I can't handle this," and consciously replace it with a new question. How can I use this? What virtue is this situation asking me to practice? This simple shift from victimhood to agency is the first step. Then you must break the problem down. The Stoics were pragmatists. They didn't just philosophize about obstacles, they developed strategies to overcome them. Look at the challenge objectively, without the cloud of emotion. What parts of it are within your control? What is the very next action you can take, no matter how small? Focusing on the immediate, controllable next step prevents you from being overwhelmed by the size of the obstacle. The final step is to act with virtue. This is the core of the Stoic response. Whatever the obstacle, it is a chance to be your best self. In the face of unfairness, you can choose to be just. In the face of fear, you can choose to be courageous. In the face of chaos, you can choose to be calm and rational. The outcome of the situation is often beyond your control, but your virtuous response is always within your power. And that, for a Stoic, is the only victory that truly matters. Tonight, as you lie in bed, think of a current obstacle in your life. It may be large or small. Instead of seeing it as a weight on your shoulders, try to see it as a gift in disguise. See it as a challenge from the universe, calling you to become a stronger, wiser, more virtuous version of yourself. Appreciate the opportunity it presents. Let this new perspective bring you a sense of peace and power. You are not at the mercy of life's challenges. You are a student in life's great school, and every obstacle is a lesson. You will fall asleep not with the anxiety of a problem unsolved, but with the calm confidence of a person who knows how to turn any path into their way forward. You will awaken ready to face the day's obstacles, not as burdens, but as opportunities for triumph. Lesson 10. The practice of Premeditatio. Malorum. Rehearsing for adversity. Imagine a boxer training for a championship fight. They don't just hope for an easy opponent. They study the toughest fighters. They spar with stronger partners, and they push their bodies to the limit. They rehearse for the worst-case scenario so that when they step into the ring, they are prepared for anything. This is the essence of a powerful Stoic practice known as Premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. It is the practice of mentally rehearsing the challenges, setbacks, and losses that life might throw our way. This may sound like a recipe for anxiety, a morbid exercise in negative thinking, but for the Stoics, it was the exact opposite. It was a tool for building incredible resilience, cultivating gratitude, and ultimately achieving a state of profound tranquility. By preparing for adversity, we rob it of its power to shock and overwhelm us. We live in a culture that often promotes relentless optimism. We are told to think positive and to avoid contemplating negative outcomes. While a positive outlook has its place, the Stoics recognized that a refusal to consider the possibility of hardship leaves us fragile and unprepared. When adversity inevitably strikes, as it does in every life, we are caught off guard, and our world shatters. The premeditation of evils is a form of psychological inoculation. Just as a vaccine introduces a small, harmless dose of a virus to prepare the immune system, this Stoic practice introduces a small, controlled dose of imagined adversity to prepare the mind. By contemplating potential difficulties in a calm, rational state, we can plan our responses, fortify our character, and lessen the emotional impact if those difficulties ever come to pass. How does one practice this? It can be a simple daily or weekly reflection. You can take a few moments in the morning to consider what could go wrong in the day ahead. Your project at work could face a setback. You could get into an argument with a loved one. You could experience a health issue. As you contemplate these possibilities, you are not meant to dwell on them with fear. Instead, you do two things. First, you remind yourself that you have the inner resources to handle these challenges. You have your reason, your courage, your patience. You can remind yourself, as the Stoics did, "If this happens, I can bear it." You are rehearsing your own strength. Second, you can make practical preparations. If you contemplate the possibility of losing your job, you might be motivated to update your resume, build your network, or save more money. If you consider the possibility of illness, you might be inspired to adopt healthier habits. The practice moves you from passive worry to proactive preparation. This exercise has another profound benefit. It cultivates immense gratitude for what you currently have. When you take a moment to imagine losing your health, your home, or the people you love, you return to the present moment with a heightened appreciation for them. The things we often take for granted are revealed as precious, fragile gifts. The simple fact that you are healthy today, that you have a roof over your head, that your loved ones are safe, this becomes a source of deep and abiding joy. A wise Roman philosopher recommended this practice to his friend, advising him to periodically live as if he had lost everything, to eat simple food, wear rough clothes, and sleep on the floor. This was not a punishment, but a training exercise. By experiencing a taste of poverty, he would learn not to fear it. He would realize that he could be content with very little, and this realization would make him truly wealthy, for his happiness would no longer be dependent on his possessions. Tonight, as you settle into bed, you can perform a gentle version of this exercise. Think about your life as it is right now. Consider the good things, your health, your relationships, your home, your work. Then, for a moment, imagine them gone. Feel the space they would leave. Then, with a deep sense of gratitude, bring your awareness back to the present moment and appreciate that they are still here. Let this practice dissolve your anxieties about the future. By facing potential losses in your mind, you are preparing yourself to meet them with courage and grace if they ever materialize. You are also anchoring yourself in a deep appreciation for the present. You will fall asleep not with the fear of what you might lose, but with the profound, peaceful gratitude for all that you have right here, right now. You will awaken more resilient, more grateful, and more prepared to face whatever the day may bring. Lesson 11. Virtue as the sole good, redefining true wealth. What is a good life? Our modern world offers a clear, if often unstated, answer. A good life is a life of external success. It is defined by wealth, status, professional achievement, social recognition, and the accumulation of pleasurable experiences. We are taught from a young age to pursue these external goods, believing that they are the keys to happiness and fulfillment. The Stoics presented a philosophy that was, and still is, profoundly countercultural. They argued that all of these external things, money, fame, health, pleasure, are ultimately indifferent. They are not in themselves good or bad. The only thing that is truly good, the only thing that can guarantee a flourishing and happy life, is virtue. This is perhaps the most central and challenging tenet of Stoicism. It asks us to completely redefine our understanding of wealth and success. For the Stoics, virtue is excellence of character. It is the perfection of our reason and our moral will. It is comprised of 4 cardinal qualities: wisdom, the ability to see things clearly and make sound judgments. Justice, the commitment to treating others with fairness and kindness. Courage, the strength to face adversity and do what is right. And temperance, the mastery of our own desires and impulses. According to Stoic philosophy, a person who possesses these virtues has everything they need to be happy, regardless of their external circumstances. A virtuous person can be happy in poverty, in sickness, or in obscurity, because their happiness comes from within. It is a product of their own excellent character, which no twist of fate can take away. Conversely, a person who lacks virtue can be miserable even if they are a billionaire, a celebrity, or a king, because their soul is disordered and they are a slave to their own irrational desires and fears. This is a powerful and liberating idea. It means that the good life is accessible to every single human being, regardless of their station. You don't need to win the lottery or become famous to be happy. You only need to focus on what is entirely within your control, the quality of your own character. Every single moment of every day presents you with an opportunity to practice virtue. When you are faced with a complex decision, you have the opportunity to practice wisdom. When you interact with others, you have the opportunity to practice justice. When you are confronted with a challenge, you have the opportunity to practice courage. When you are tempted by a harmful desire, you have the opportunity to practice temperance. Your life becomes a laboratory for moral and spiritual development. External goods, like money or health, are not to be shunned. The Stoics called them preferred indifference. It is natural to prefer health over sickness, wealth over poverty. It is rational to pursue them as long as you do so with virtue and as long as you do not attach your ultimate happiness to them. They are like the equipment in a game. It's better to have good equipment, but a skilled player can win even with poor equipment. The ultimate goal is to play the game of life with excellence, and that excellence is virtue. When you adopt this mindset, your priorities shift dramatically. You become less concerned with impressing others and more concerned with cultivating your own integrity. You become less anxious about outcomes you cannot control and more focused on the quality of your own actions. You find that your self-worth is no longer a fragile thing dependent on the ups and downs of fortune, but a solid, unshakable foundation built on your own character. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, reflect on this redefinition of wealth. What do you truly value? Are you investing your precious time and energy in the pursuit of fleeting external goods, or are you investing in the cultivation of your own lasting virtue? Consider one small way you can practice one of the 4 virtues tomorrow. Let the knowledge that true happiness is within your grasp, right here and now, bring you a deep sense of peace. You don't need to wait for your circumstances to change to be happy. You only need to choose to be a good person in this very moment. You will fall asleep with the profound tranquility that comes from knowing you are pursuing the only good that truly matters, the only wealth that can never be lost. And you will awaken with a clear and noble purpose, to live this day with virtue. Lesson 12. Sympathia. Recognizing our interconnection. We often experience our lives from a very narrow, individualistic perspective. We see ourselves as separate entities, navigating a world of other separate entities, each of us pursuing our own goals, our own happiness, our own survival. This sense of separation is a primary source of our feelings of loneliness, alienation, and conflict. We see others as competitors, obstacles, or simply as irrelevant to our own story. The Stoics offered a profound and healing corrective to this view with the concept of Sympathia, the understanding that all things in the universe are interconnected, part of a single, unified whole. They believed that the entire cosmos is a single living organism, and that every individual human being is like a single cell in that vast body. What is not good for the hive, a great Stoic emperor wrote, is not good for the bee. This is a simple but powerful metaphor. It means that our own well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of the whole. We cannot flourish in isolation. To harm another is, in a very real sense, to harm ourselves. To help another is to help ourselves. Sympathia is the recognition of our shared humanity and our shared destiny. From a cosmic perspective, our differences of race, nationality, religion, social status are insignificant. We are all made of the same stardust. We all share the same fragile planet, and we are all subject to the same fundamental laws of existence. We are all brothers and sisters in the great family of humanity. When we truly internalize this understanding, our relationship with others is transformed. Empathy becomes our natural response. When we see someone suffering, we recognize their pain as our own, because we are part of the same whole. We are moved not by pity, but by a sense of shared experience and a desire to alleviate the suffering of a fellow part of our own cosmic body. Justice and kindness cease to be abstract moral duties and become the natural expression of our interconnectedness. We treat others with fairness and compassion, not because we are supposed to, but because it is the rational and natural way for the parts of a whole to interact. Conflict and resentment begin to dissolve. When someone acts unjustly, a Stoic perspective would be to see them not as evil, but as mistaken. They are acting from a place of ignorance, disconnected from their own rational nature and their place in the whole. The appropriate response is not anger, but an attempt to teach and to heal, just as you would try to heal a diseased part of your own body. This sense of interconnection extends beyond the human family to all of nature. The Stoics saw the divine rational principle of the cosmos in every rock, every plant, every animal. They understood that we are not masters of nature, but participants in it. This perspective fosters a deep sense of reverence and responsibility for the natural world, an idea that is more relevant today than ever before. How can you cultivate the sense of sympathia in your life? It begins with expanding your perspective. Practice the view from above, reminding yourself of the vastness of the universe and your small but significant place within it. Actively look for the common humanity in everyone you meet, especially those who seem different from you. Look past the superficial labels and see the person underneath, with their own hopes, fears, and struggles, just like you. Practice acts of kindness and service, not as a duty, but as a way of strengthening the bonds of the human family. Even small gestures can reinforce your sense of connection. Tonight, as you lie in the quiet of your room, feel the web of connections that surrounds you. Think of the farmers who grew the food you ate, the workers who built the home that shelters you, the countless generations of ancestors who came before you. Feel your connection to the earth beneath you and the stars above you. Let the sense of separation melt away, replaced by a warm, expansive feeling of belonging. You are not alone. You are a vital, irreplaceable part of a magnificent, interconnected whole. This realization is a source of immense comfort, purpose, and peace. You will fall asleep feeling held by the universe, a cherished part of the great cosmic dance. And you will awaken with a more compassionate and open heart, ready to live your day in a way that honors the sacred bond that connects us all. Lesson 13. On anger, the acid of the soul. Of all the emotions that can plague the human mind, the Stoics reserved a special level of caution for anger. They saw it not as a natural and sometimes necessary response, but as a form of temporary madness, a destructive passion that clouds our reason, poisons our relationships, and ultimately harms ourselves far more than it harms its intended target. A prominent Stoic philosopher wrote an entire treatise on anger, calling it the most hideous and frenzied of all the emotions. Anger, he argued, is an acid that does more harm to the vessel in which it is stored than to anything on which it is poured. This is a powerful and crucial lesson for anyone seeking a tranquil and virtuous life. Our culture often has an ambivalent relationship with anger. On one hand, we see its destructive consequences. On the other, it is sometimes glorified as a sign of strength, a righteous response to injustice, or a necessary tool for asserting oneself. The Stoics disagreed fundamentally. They argued that anger is never useful. It is always a product of a disordered mind based on irrational judgments. The first irrational judgment that fuels anger is the belief that we have been seriously wronged or harmed. The Stoics would challenge this. They would remind us that other people's actions are external to us and cannot harm our inner citadel, our character, unless we allow them to. The insult, the betrayal, the injustice, these things are only harmful if we judge them to be so. The second irrational judgment is that getting angry is an appropriate and effective response. The Stoics argued that anger is never effective. It leads to rash decisions, cruel words, and actions we later regret. A calm, rational, and strategic response is always more powerful and more effective than a furious outburst. Anger does not solve problems, it creates them. Think of a time you acted out of anger. Did it truly improve the situation? Or did it escalate the conflict, damage a relationship, or leave you feeling drained and full of regret? The answer is almost always the latter. Anger is a poor strategist and a cruel master. The path to mastering anger begins with understanding its root causes and challenging the judgments that give rise to it. When you feel the first stirrings of anger, the Stoics would advise you to pause. Do not act immediately. Create a space between the trigger and your response. In that space, you have the opportunity to engage your reason. Ask yourself, has a true harm been done to my character, to my virtue? Or has an external event simply not gone my way? Is anger the most rational and effective response here? Or would patience, understanding, or a firm but calm assertion be better? One practical technique the Stoics recommended was to delay your response. A wise teacher advised that when you are angry, you should do nothing. Wait. Let the initial emotional storm pass. With time, your reason will reassert itself, and you will be able to see the situation more clearly. Another technique is to practice empathy. Try to understand the perspective of the person who has angered you. Perhaps they are acting out of their own pain, fear, or ignorance. As a great emperor wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Responding to injustice with anger only makes you a participant in the same cycle of negativity. Responding with understanding and virtue elevates you above it. Finally, it is crucial to recognize the physical toll of anger. It raises our blood pressure, tenses our muscles, and floods our bodies with stress hormones. It is, quite literally, a poison. Choosing to let go of anger is an act of self-care, a way of protecting your own physical and mental well-being. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, let go of any anger or resentment you may be holding from the day. It is a heavy burden to carry into sleep. Visualize the anger leaving your body with each exhalation, replaced by a sense of calm and peace. Forgive those who may have wronged you, not for their sake, but for your own. Free yourself from the poison of resentment. You will fall asleep with a lighter heart and a clearer mind, and you will awaken with a renewed commitment to meet the world not with the destructive fire of anger, but with the calm, steady, and powerful light of reason. This is the path to true strength and unshakable peace. Lesson 14. On Grief, Navigating Loss with Dignity. Life is a journey of attachments. We love people, places, and experiences. And because life is also a journey of constant change and impermanence, loss is an inevitable part of the human experience. We will all, at some point, face the profound pain of grief. The loss of a loved one, the end of a cherished relationship, the fading of our own youth and health, these are some of the deepest challenges we can encounter. The Stoics, often misunderstood as being emotionless, did not advocate for the suppression of grief. They were not unfeeling robots. They understood that sorrow is a natural human response to loss. A wise Stoic, writing a letter of consolation to a friend who had lost her son, acknowledged the reality of her pain. He did not tell her not to feel. Instead, he offered a path to navigate her grief with dignity, courage, and wisdom. The Stoic approach to grief is not about avoiding pain, but about preventing that pain from overwhelming our reason and destroying our soul. It is about finding a balance between honoring our feelings and maintaining our inner citadel. The first step in this process is to allow yourself to feel the initial wave of sorrow. The tears, the sense of emptiness, the pain, these are natural and should not be repressed. To deny these feelings is to deny our own humanity and our capacity for love. The love we feel for someone is what makes their loss so painful, and to grieve is to honor that love. However, the Stoics warned against what they called excessive grief. This is the kind of grief that consumes a person, that plunges them into a state of prolonged despair, and that prevents them from returning to the duties and joys of life. This excessive grief, they argued, is not a product of the loss itself, but of our judgments about the loss. One such judgment is the belief that our happiness was entirely dependent on the person or thing we have lost. The Stoics would remind us that while our loved ones are a profound source of joy, our ultimate well-being, our eudaimonia, comes from our own virtue, our character, our integrity, our ability to live a good life. These are things that can never be taken from us, even by death. Another unhelpful judgment is the idea that our grief is a measure of our love. We might feel that to stop grieving would be a betrayal of the person we lost. The Stoics would argue that the greatest way to honor the dead is not by dwelling in endless sorrow, but by living a good life, a life that they would be proud of. It is by carrying their memory in our hearts and embodying the best lessons they taught us that we truly keep their spirit alive. The practice of memento mori, remembering our own mortality, is also a powerful tool in navigating grief. It reminds us that all life is temporary, including our own. This shared fate connects us with the person we have lost. They have simply completed a journey that we are all on. This perspective can bring a sense of peace and acceptance, a feeling of being part of a larger natural cycle. To navigate grief with dignity, the Stoics would advise a gradual return to life's duties. Engaging in our work, our responsibilities to our family and community, is not a distraction from grief, but a way of reaffirming life. It is an act of courage that says, I have suffered a great loss, but I will not be defeated by it. I will continue to live with purpose and virtue. It is also important to remember the good times, to cherish the memories with gratitude, not with the pain of longing. Be thankful for the time you had, for the love you shared. Let the memories be a source of warmth and strength, not a source of fresh pain. Tonight, if you are carrying the weight of grief, be gentle with yourself. Acknowledge your pain, but also, gently, remind yourself of your own strength, your own virtue, your own ability to endure. Remember the love you shared with gratitude. Let the knowledge that life continues, that you still have a role to play, be a source of comfort. You are not alone in your sorrow. It is a shared human experience. You will fall asleep not by forgetting your loss, but by holding it with a new sense of peace and perspective. You will awaken with the quiet courage to face another day, to live a life that honors both the memory of those you have lost and the precious gift of your own continuing existence. Lesson 15. The role of the sage, aspiring to your highest self. In the Stoic tradition, there is an ideal figure, a model of human perfection, known as the sage. The Stoic sage is a person who has achieved a state of complete virtue, wisdom, and tranquility. They live in perfect harmony with reason and nature. Their mind is an unbreachable fortress, unperturbed by the storms of fate. They are free from the passions, anger, fear, excessive desire, and they experience a constant, unwavering state of joy, or eudaimonia. It is important to state up front, the Stoics themselves admitted that the perfect sage has probably never existed, or if they have, they are incredibly rare. It is an ideal, a North Star to guide our journey, not a destination we can ever expect to fully reach. So, why is the concept of the sage so important? Because it gives us something to aspire to. It provides a clear and noble vision of what a human being is capable of becoming. By keeping the image of the sage in our minds, we are constantly reminded of our own potential for growth, and we are inspired to strive for our highest self. The sage is not a superhuman being. They are simply a person who has fully actualized their human nature, which, for the Stoics, is our capacity for reason. The sage thinks with perfect clarity, free from the biases, irrational judgments, and emotional reactions that cloud the minds of most people. They see the world exactly as it is, and they act in perfect accordance with that clear vision. Because the sage's happiness comes entirely from their own virtue, they are completely self-sufficient. They do not need wealth, health, fame, or the approval of others to be happy. They can find fulfillment and joy in any circumstance, even in the face of great adversity. This gives them an incredible sense of freedom and power. They are not a slave to fortune or to the opinions of the crowd. They are the sole masters of their own well-being. The sage is also a figure of immense compassion and justice. Because they understand the interconnectedness of all things, Sympathia, they see all human beings as their brothers and sisters. They act for the common good, not out of a sense of duty, but as a natural expression of their own rational and social nature. They forgive the faults of others, understanding that most wrongdoing comes from ignorance, not from malice. While we may never become perfect sages, we can make progress toward this ideal every single day. The path of the Stoic is a path of constant practice and self-improvement. The goal is not to reach perfection, but to become a little wiser, a little more courageous, a little more just, and a little more self-controlled each day. How can we use the concept of the sage in our practical, daily lives? One powerful technique is to use the sage as a role model. When you are faced with a difficult decision or a challenging situation, you can ask yourself, what would the sage do? Or what would the most virtuous version of myself do in this situation? This simple question can cut through a lot of confusion and emotional turmoil. It lifts you out of your immediate, reactive self and connects you to your higher, rational self. It encourages you to think not just about what is easy or expedient, but about what is right. You can also study the lives and teachings of those who have come closer to the ideal of the sage. The writings of great Stoics like a Roman emperor, a former slave, and a wealthy statesman give us a glimpse into the minds of individuals who seriously strove to live a virtuous life. By reading their words, we can learn from their struggles, their insights, and their examples. We can feel a sense of connection to a long tradition of wisdom seekers. The concept of the sage prevents us from becoming complacent. It reminds us that there is always room for improvement, always a higher level of wisdom and virtue to strive for. It keeps us on a path of lifelong learning and growth. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, hold the image of your highest self in your mind. Imagine the person you could be if you were to live in perfect accordance with your own values and reason. See their calmness, their courage, their compassion. This is not a distant, unattainable fantasy. This is your own deepest potential. Let this inspiring vision be a source of motivation and peace. You are on a noble path, the path of becoming your best self. Every effort you make, no matter how small, is a step closer to that ideal. You will fall asleep with a sense of purpose and a renewed commitment to your own growth, and you will awaken ready to continue the beautiful, lifelong journey of aspiring to be a sage in your own right. Lesson 16. On Friendship, the Shared Journey of Souls. Humans are social creatures. We are born into families, we live in communities, and we crave connection with others. While the Stoic philosophy places a great emphasis on self-sufficiency and the inner citadel, it does not advocate for a life of isolation. On the contrary, the Stoics saw friendship as one of the most valuable, preferred indifference and a crucial component of a flourishing life. For the Stoics, however, friendship was not about mere companionship or social utility. It was a profound bond between two individuals who shared a commitment to virtue. A true friendship, in the Stoic sense, is a partnership in the art of living. It is a shared journey of two souls striving together to become better, wiser, and more virtuous human beings. A famous Roman philosopher described this ideal friendship in his letters. He said that a true friend is like a second self, another I. This means that the bond of friendship is so deep that the well-being of your friend becomes as important as your own. You rejoice in their successes and you share in their sorrows, not out of pity, but out of a deep sense of shared identity. The foundation of a Stoic friendship is mutual respect for each other's character. You choose your friends not because they are charming, wealthy, or entertaining, but because you admire their virtue. You see in them a reflection of the good you are striving for in yourself. This kind of friendship is rare because virtuous people are rare. But when it is found, it is one of life's greatest treasures. How does this kind of friendship contribute to a good life? First, a true friend acts as a mirror. They can see our faults more clearly than we can, and because they care for our soul's well-being, they will speak the truth to us, even when it is difficult. A true friend will challenge us, hold us accountable, and help us to see our own blind spots. This kind of honest feedback is essential for personal growth. Second, a friend provides support and encouragement on the path of virtue. The journey of self-improvement can be difficult and lonely at times. Having a friend who understands your goals, who shares your values, and who can offer a word of encouragement when you are struggling is an invaluable asset. Friends can share their wisdom, their experiences, and their strength, helping each other to navigate life's challenges. Third, sharing our lives with virtuous friends is a source of profound joy. While the Stoic sage's happiness is not dependent on anything external, the joy of a good friendship is a significant enhancement to a good life. To share a deep conversation, to work on a meaningful project together, to simply be in the presence of someone you admire and respect. These are some of the purest and most fulfilling pleasures life has to offer. The Stoics also had practical advice on how to be a good friend. They taught that we should be loyal, trustworthy, and always willing to help a friend in need. We should be a source of good counsel, offering our honest and rational perspective, and we should be willing to share everything with our friends, our joys, our sorrows, and even our material possessions if they are in need. They emphasized that a true friendship is not about what you can get, but what you can give. In our modern world of superficial online connections and busy, fragmented lives, the Stoic ideal of friendship is a powerful and needed reminder of what true connection looks like. It calls us to seek out relationships of depth and substance based on shared values and a mutual commitment to growth. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, think about the friendships in your life. Are they relationships of convenience, or are they true partnerships of the soul? Are you being the kind of friend you would wish to have? And are you seeking out the company of those who inspire you to be your best self? Let your thoughts be filled with gratitude for the true friends in your life. And let this be a gentle reminder to nurture these precious bonds. You will fall asleep with a sense of warmth and connection, knowing that you are not alone on your journey. You are part of a shared quest for wisdom and virtue, supported by and supportive of the friends who walk the path beside you. Lesson 17. The power of morning and evening reflection. How do we ensure that we are making progress on the path to a more virtuous and tranquil life? How do we keep ourselves on track amidst the distractions and challenges of our daily existence? The Stoics, being eminently practical philosophers, had a clear answer through the disciplined practice of daily reflection. They understood that a life unexamined is a life left to chance. Just as a captain reviews the ship's logbook to assess the day's journey and plan the next, we must review our own actions and thoughts to steer our lives with intention and wisdom. This practice was typically divided into two parts: a morning reflection to prepare for the day ahead, and an evening reflection to review the day that had passed. The morning reflection is about setting your intention. Upon waking, before the noise of the world rushes in, a Stoic would take a few moments to prepare their mind. They would remind themselves of their core principles. They might contemplate the challenges they are likely to face during the day: difficult people, frustrating situations, unexpected setbacks. This is not to create anxiety, but to rehearse their response, to decide in advance how they will act with virtue. A Roman emperor famously started his day by telling himself, "Today, I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness." By anticipating these challenges, he was preparing his mind not to be disturbed by them. He was reminding himself to respond with understanding and forgiveness, recognizing that these people were acting from ignorance. You can adapt this practice by taking just a few minutes each morning to think about your day. What is your most important task? What is your intention for your interactions with others? What virtues do you want to embody today? By setting a clear, virtuous intention, you provide a compass for your actions throughout the day. The evening reflection is a process of honest and compassionate self-assessment. Before going to sleep, you would review the events of the day, not with an eye for self-criticism or regret, but with the calm, objective curiosity of a scientist. A great Stoic teacher gave his students a set of questions to ask themselves each night. What bad habit did I curb today? What fault did I resist? In what way am I a better person? This is not about seeking perfection. The goal is to track your progress, to celebrate your small victories, and to identify the areas where you still need to work. It is a process of learning from your own experience. When you find that you acted well, you can feel a sense of satisfaction and reinforce that behavior. When you find that you fell short of your own standards, you do not despair. You see it as a valuable piece of data. Why did I act out of anger in that situation? What irrational judgment was at play? What can I do differently next time? This nightly review is a powerful tool for self-awareness. It helps you to understand your own psychological patterns, your triggers, and your weaknesses. And with that understanding comes the power to change. It also fosters a sense of accountability to yourself. You are making a commitment to your own growth, and you are checking in on that commitment every single day. Over time, this practice has a profound transformative effect. Your actions become more intentional. Your reactions become less impulsive. You become more aware of the connection between your thoughts and your emotions. You are, in essence, becoming your own teacher, your own coach, and your own best friend on the journey of life. Tonight, as you lie in bed, you can begin this practice. Let your mind gently scan over the day. Don't get caught up in replaying events. Simply ask yourself the gentle questions. Where did I act with kindness? Where could I have been more patient? What did I learn today? Let the answers arise without judgment. Congratulate yourself for your efforts. And set a quiet intention to be just a little bit better tomorrow. You will fall asleep not with a mind cluttered by the day's unresolved events, but with a mind that is clear, calm, and prepared for a new day of virtuous living. This simple practice is one of the most powerful keys to a Stoic life. Lesson 18. On pleasure, a dangerous master. In our modern society, the pursuit of pleasure is often seen as the ultimate goal of life. Advertising, entertainment, and social media all conspire to convince us that happiness is found in the next exciting experience, the next luxurious purchase, the next sensual gratification. We are encouraged to live for the weekend, to seek out constant stimulation, and to avoid discomfort at all costs. The Stoics viewed this relentless pursuit of pleasure with deep suspicion. They did not believe that pleasure was inherently evil, but they saw it as a dangerous master. They understood that a life dedicated to chasing pleasure is a life of slavery, because pleasure is fleeting, unpredictable, and often requires us to compromise our own reason and virtue. The Stoic distinction between joy and pleasure is crucial here. Joy, eudaimonia, is the deep, abiding state of well-being that comes from a virtuous and rational life. It is a state of inner tranquility that is independent of external circumstances. Pleasure, on the other hand, is a temporary and often intense feeling that arises from external stimuli, a delicious meal, a thrilling experience, physical intimacy. The Stoics were not against enjoying these things. They are preferred indifference. But the danger arises when we make the pursuit of pleasure the central focus of our lives. When we do this, several negative consequences follow. First, we become dependent on external things for our happiness. If we need a constant stream of exciting experiences to feel alive, we will be in a constant state of anxiety, always worrying about where our next fix will come from. Our peace of mind becomes fragile, easily shattered by boredom or the absence of stimulation. Second, the pursuit of pleasure often leads to a loss of self-control. The desire for pleasure can be a powerful and addictive force. It can lead us to overindulge in food and drink, to spend money we don't have, to engage in risky behaviors, or to neglect our more important duties. In the heat of a moment of desire, our reason can be overwhelmed, and we can act in ways that are harmful to ourselves and others. A wise man, the Stoics argued, is in control of his desires. He is not controlled by them. Third, the pursuit of pleasure often leads to a cycle of escalating desire. This is the principle of the hedonic treadmill. The pleasure we get from a certain experience tends to diminish with repetition. To get the same level of satisfaction, we need more and more stimulation. A person who starts with a simple desire for a good meal might end up on a path of gluttony, always seeking more extravagant and exotic foods, never truly satisfied. This is a recipe for perpetual dissatisfaction. The Stoic alternative is to cultivate a life where we can enjoy pleasures when they arise, but we do not need them for our happiness. Our primary source of fulfillment is our own virtue. A Stoic can enjoy a fine meal with gratitude, but they can also be perfectly content with a simple meal of bread and water. Their well-being is not dependent on the quality of their food. To cultivate this healthy relationship with pleasure, the Stoics recommended practicing voluntary discomfort. This is the practice of periodically and intentionally abstaining from certain pleasures. You might fast for a day, take a cold shower, or sleep on the floor. The purpose of this is not to punish yourself, but to train your mind. It teaches you that you can endure discomfort. It breaks the psychological hold that pleasure has over you, and it makes you appreciate the simple comforts of your life even more when you return to them. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, reflect on your own relationship with pleasure. Are there any desires that have an unhealthy hold on you? Are you spending too much of your time and energy chasing fleeting gratifications? Can you find a deeper and more lasting source of joy in the cultivation of your own character? Let this reflection bring you a sense of freedom. You do not need to be a slave to your desires. You have the power of reason, the ability to choose, the strength to live with temperance. You can be the master of your own house. You will fall asleep with the quiet confidence that comes from self-mastery, knowing that your happiness is a fortress built on the solid ground of virtue, not a flimsy tent pitched on the shifting sands of pleasure. Lesson 19. The Inner Scorecard. Living for your own approval. In our deeply social and interconnected world, it's almost second nature to look outside ourselves for validation. We measure our worth by the number of likes on a post, the praise from our boss, the admiration of our peers, and the status symbols we accumulate. We are constantly performing for an external audience, shaping our actions and even our beliefs to win their approval. This way of life is a source of profound anxiety and inauthenticity. It turns us into chameleons, constantly changing our colors to fit our surroundings, losing touch with who we truly are. The Stoics offered a powerful antidote to this external dependency, the concept of the inner scorecard. They taught that the only judgment that truly matters is your own. The only person you need to impress is yourself. A virtuous and wise person lives their life according to an internal set of standards, not the ever-shifting and often superficial standards of the crowd. A Roman statesman and philosopher powerfully articulated this idea. He said, I have no need of glory from others if I have glory from myself. This is a declaration of profound inner freedom. It means that your self-worth is not up for negotiation. It is not something that can be given or taken away by others. It is a product of your own character, your own integrity, your own adherence to your values. When you live by an inner scorecard, you are playing a different game than most people. Their game is about winning external rewards. Your game is about cultivating internal excellence. Their goal is to be liked. Your goal is to be worthy of your own respect. This shift in focus has several transformative effects. First, it frees you from social anxiety. You no longer need to worry constantly about what other people think of you. You can speak your truth, act on your principles, and follow your own path, even if it is unpopular. The fear of criticism or rejection loses its sting because you are no longer seeking your validation from the outside. You are your own judge, and you are a fair and compassionate one. Second, it fosters authenticity. When you are not trying to be someone else for the sake of approval, you can relax into being yourself. You can connect with your own genuine thoughts, feelings, and desires. This leads to a life that is more integrated and whole, a life where your outer actions are a true reflection of your inner self. Third, it makes you more resilient. The opinions of others are as fickle as the weather. Praise can turn to criticism in an instant. Fame is fleeting. If your self-worth is built on this shaky ground, you are destined for an emotional roller coaster. But if your self-worth is based on your own character, on your commitment to virtue, it is a solid and unshakable foundation. You can weather any storm of public opinion with your inner peace intact. How can you start living by an inner scorecard? It begins with clarifying your own values. What is most important to you? What principles do you want to live by? Take the time to write these down. This is your personal constitution, the law by which you will judge yourself. Then you must practice the art of self-evaluation, as we discussed in the lesson on morning and evening reflection. At the end of each day, you are not asking, "Did people like me today?" You are asking, "Did I like me today? Did I live up to my own standards? Did I act with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance?" This is not an exercise in harsh self-judgment. It is a commitment to holding yourself to a high standard, the standard of your own highest potential. Tonight, as you lie in bed, let go of the need for external approval. Release the worries about what others may think or say. Turn your attention inward. Connect with that quiet, wise part of yourself that knows what is right, that knows who you are. Let your final evaluation of the day come from this place. Did you act with integrity? Did you try your best? That is all that matters. You will fall asleep with a deep and liberating sense of peace. You are not a performer on a stage, desperate for applause. You are the author, director, and audience of your own life's drama. And the only review that counts is your own. You will awaken with the quiet confidence of a person who is living for a purpose that is true, noble, and entirely their own. Lesson 20. On Duty and the Common Good. Your role in the cosmos. In a culture that often emphasizes individual rights, personal freedom, and the pursuit of self-interest, the Stoic concept of duty can seem archaic or even oppressive. But for the Stoics, fulfilling one's duty was not a burden. It was the very expression of our rational and social nature and the primary path to a meaningful and flourishing life. They believed we were born not for ourselves alone, but for our fellow human beings and for the cosmos as a whole. This is a profound shift from a self-centered to a service-oriented view of life. The Stoics taught that each of us has a specific role or a series of roles to play. These roles are determined by our natural relationships. We are children to our parents, parents to our children, citizens of our community, and members of the human race. Each of these roles comes with inherent duties. A great teacher of Stoicism, a former slave, taught that the first step in living a good life is to understand and accept our roles. He would say, "I am a son, so my duty is to care for my father. I am a citizen, so my duty is to serve my city." This focus on duty provides a clear and practical guide for our actions. When you are unsure of what to do, you can simply ask yourself, what does my role require of me in this situation? This question cuts through personal desires and fears and points toward a virtuous path of action. This idea is beautifully captured in the concept of oikeiosis, which is the process of extending our sense of self outward. We naturally care for our own bodies. Through oikeiosis, we learn to extend that same care to our families, then to our friends and neighbors, then to our fellow citizens, and ultimately to all of humanity. We come to see the entire human race as our own family and the common good as our own good. This is the foundation of Stoic cosmopolitanism, the idea that we are all citizens of a single, universal community. A Roman emperor who ruled one of the world's greatest empires lived this philosophy daily. He saw his role as emperor not as an opportunity for personal power or enrichment, but as a sacred duty to serve the people of Rome and to maintain justice and peace. He constantly reminded himself that he was a part of a larger whole, and that his personal interests were secondary to the well-being of the community. He wrote, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." This focus on the common good transforms our motivation. We are no longer acting solely for our own benefit. We are contributing to something larger than ourselves. This imbues our actions, even the most mundane ones, with a sense of purpose and dignity. When you go to work, you are not just earning a living, you are contributing your unique skills to the functioning of society. When you raise a child, you are not just fulfilling a biological role, you are nurturing a future citizen of the world. When you participate in your community, you are strengthening the fabric of the human family. This perspective is a powerful antidote to the feelings of alienation and meaninglessness that are so prevalent in modern life. It connects us to a larger purpose and reminds us that our lives matter, that our actions have an impact. It is also a source of deep fulfillment. The Stoics understood that true and lasting joy comes not from selfish pursuits, but from service to others. By acting for the common good, we are living in accordance with our rational and social nature, and this is the very definition of a flourishing human life. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, reflect on your own roles and duties. How can you better serve your family, your community, and the larger human family tomorrow? Let go of a purely self-centered perspective and embrace your identity as a citizen of the cosmos. Feel the sense of purpose and connection that comes from this expanded view of yourself. You are a vital part of a magnificent whole, and your duty is to play your part with excellence and dedication. You will fall asleep with the profound satisfaction that comes from a life of service, and you will awaken with a clear and noble mission to contribute to the common good, and in doing so, to live a life of true meaning and virtue. Lesson 21. The Dichotomy of Control, Revisited, Reclaiming Your Power. We have touched upon this fundamental Stoic principle before, but its importance cannot be overstated. It is the bedrock upon which the entire edifice of Stoic tranquility is built. It is the master key that unlocks the door to inner freedom. The dichotomy of control is the simple yet life-altering idea that some things in life are within our control and some things are not. To live a wise and peaceful life, we must learn to clearly distinguish between these two categories and to focus our energy exclusively on the former. What is within our control? The Stoics gave a very specific and limited list: our thoughts, our judgments, our choices, our desires, our aversions, and our actions. In short, our inner world. This is our true domain, the kingdom where we are the absolute sovereign. What is not within our control? Everything else. The list is vast. Our bodies, their health, their aging, their ultimate demise, our possessions, our reputation, the opinions of others, the weather, the economy, the past, and the future. All of these things are external to our will. We may have some influence over them, but we do not have ultimate control. The great majority of human suffering, the Stoics argued, comes from a fundamental confusion between these two categories. We try to control the things we cannot, and we neglect the things we can. We spend our days worrying about what other people think of us, an endeavor as futile as trying to command the tides. We become consumed with anxiety about a future we cannot predict. We tether our happiness to the health of our bodies or the size of our bank accounts, things that can be taken from us in an instant. In doing so, we hand over our peace of mind to the whims of fortune. We become slaves to the external world. The practice of the dichotomy of control is an act of reclaiming our power. It is a declaration of independence for the soul. It says, I will no longer waste my precious energy on the uncontrollable. I will focus my efforts on the one thing I can perfect, my own character, my own responses. This does not mean we become passive or indifferent to the world. A Stoic will still take prudent action to protect their health, manage their finances, and build a good reputation. They will participate in the world, but they will do so with a crucial mental detachment. They do their best, they act with virtue, and then they accept the outcome with equanimity, knowing that the outcome is not ultimately up to them. Their self-worth is not tied to the result, but to the quality of their effort. Let's consider a practical example. You are preparing for an important job interview. What is in your control? Your preparation, the research you do, the answers you practice, the clothes you wear, your attitude during the interview. What is not in your control? The interviewer's mood, the other candidates, the company's internal politics, the final decision. A person who does not practice the dichotomy of control will be consumed with anxiety about the things they cannot influence. They will worry endlessly about the competition and the final outcome. Their performance in the interview will likely suffer due to this anxiety. A Stoic, on the other hand, will focus all their energy on what they can control, their preparation. They will prepare diligently. Then they will go into the interview and do their best. After it is over, they will let go of the outcome. If they get the job, they will accept it with gratitude, but not excessive elation. If they don't get the job, they will accept it with disappointment, but not devastation. They will see it as an opportunity to learn and to try again. Their inner peace remains intact because it was never dependent on the external result. Tonight, as you lie in bed, apply this powerful principle to your own life. Think of a worry that is currently occupying your mind. Is the object of your worry within your control or outside of it? If it is outside your control, can you consciously choose to let it go? Can you release the burden of trying to manage the unmanageable? Turn your focus instead to your own responses. Remind yourself that no matter what happens, you have the power to face it with courage, with wisdom, and with grace. This is your true power. This is your unbreachable fortress. You will fall asleep with a profound sense of relief and empowerment. You are not a helpless cork tossed on the waves of fate. You are the skilled captain of your own soul, navigating the seas of life with a steady hand, focused only on the things you can control. Your sails, your rudder, and your own unwavering spirit. Lesson 22. On forgiveness, releasing the poison of resentment. In our interactions with others, it is inevitable that we will experience hurt, disappointment, and injustice. People will betray our trust, speak unkindly, and act in ways that are selfish or thoughtless. Our natural human reaction to these injuries is often to hold on to anger and resentment. We replay the offense in our minds, we nurture our sense of grievance, and we wish for some form of retribution. This resentment can feel justified, even righteous. But the Stoics would offer a very different perspective. They would teach us that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. The resentment we carry harms us far more than it harms the person who wronged us. It is a heavy, corrosive burden that disturbs our own peace of mind and prevents us from living a tranquil and virtuous life. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, is not primarily an act of generosity toward the other person. It is an act of self-care, a rational decision to release ourselves from the self-inflicted torment of resentment. The Stoic argument for forgiveness is rooted in their understanding of human nature. They believe that no one does wrong willingly. People act unjustly, they argued, because of ignorance. They are mistaken about what is truly good. They are driven by their own false beliefs, irrational passions, and disordered souls. They are, in a sense, spiritually sick. A great Roman emperor, who endured numerous betrayals and plots against him, wrote in his meditations, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil." This is not a cynical statement. It is a call to a radical form of empathy. When we see that people's wrongdoing stems from their own inner turmoil and ignorance, it becomes much harder to hold on to personal anger. Our response shifts from resentment to something more like pity, or at the very least, a detached understanding. You wouldn't be angry at a person for having a fever. You would recognize they are sick. Similarly, a Stoic would not be consumed with anger at a person for being unjust. They would recognize that they are spiritually unwell. This perspective allows us to depersonalize the offense. The other person's action is a reflection of their character, not a measure of our worth. Their injustice cannot touch our inner citadel unless we allow it to. By choosing to forgive, we are refusing to let their vice become our own. We are protecting our own tranquility. Forgiveness does not mean condoning the wrongful act. It does not mean you have to forget what happened or that you must reconcile with the person who harmed you. Justice may still need to be served. You may still need to set firm boundaries or even end a relationship to protect yourself. Forgiveness is an internal act. It is about letting go of the anger and bitterness in your own heart. It is a decision to stop carrying the weight of the past. How can we practice this form of forgiveness? It begins with the rational analysis we've discussed. When you feel resentment, challenge the judgments that fuel it. Remind yourself that the person likely acted from ignorance. Remind yourself that their actions are external and cannot harm your true self. Remind yourself that holding on to anger is only poisoning your own soul. You can also practice a form of negative visualization. Imagine carrying a heavy, hot coal in your hand. The longer you hold it, the more it burns you. Resentment is that hot coal. Forgiveness is the act of dropping it, not for the sake of the coal, but for the sake of your own hand. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, bring to mind anyone against whom you are holding a grudge. It could be a recent slight or an old wound. See the person in your mind's eye. Acknowledge the pain they caused you. Then try to see them through a Stoic lens, as a person acting from their own confusion and suffering. Make a conscious decision for your own peace to release the resentment. You can say to yourself, I release this anger. I will no longer carry this burden. Feel the lightness that comes with this release. You are not letting them off the hook. You are setting yourself free. You will fall asleep with a more peaceful and compassionate heart. And you will awaken with more energy and clarity, no longer wasting your precious mental resources on the poisons of the past. This is the liberating power of Stoic forgiveness. Lesson 23. On gratitude, the antidote to dissatisfaction. In our constant striving for what we don't have, we often overlook the immense blessings that are already present in our lives. We take our health for granted until we are sick. We take our loved ones for granted until they are gone. We take the simple miracle of a new day for granted until we are faced with our own mortality. This habit of focusing on lack rather than on abundance is a primary source of our dissatisfaction and anxiety. The Stoics understood this well and prescribed a powerful antidote, the practice of gratitude. Gratitude for the Stoics was not a fleeting emotion reserved for special occasions. It was a rational and disciplined way of seeing the world, a constant practice of appreciating the gifts of fortune while simultaneously recognizing their impermanence. The Stoic approach to gratitude is deeply intertwined with the practice of negative visualization, or Premeditatio malorum, which we have discussed. By contemplating the potential loss of the things we value, we come to appreciate them more profoundly in the present. When you take a moment to imagine your life without your home, your friends, or your ability to see and walk, you return to your current reality with a heart full of thankfulness. The things that seemed ordinary are revealed as extraordinary gifts. A wise philosopher taught that we should enjoy the things we have as a person on a temporary loan from fortune. This means that we should cherish and make the most of what we have, while always being prepared to give it back without complaint when the time comes. This mindset fosters a deep appreciation without a sense of clinging attachment. It allows us to love deeply, to enjoy fully, but to do so with a sense of lightness and freedom. Gratitude transforms our perspective. It shifts our focus from what is missing to what is present. Instead of seeing our lives as a series of problems to be solved, we begin to see them as a series of blessings to be thankful for. This simple shift can have a profound impact on our overall happiness and well-being. It is the fastest path from a state of dissatisfaction to a state of contentment. How can we cultivate a more grateful mindset? It begins with paying attention. We must consciously look for the good in our lives, even in the midst of challenges. One powerful practice is to keep a gratitude journal. Each night before bed, write down 3 to 5 things from your day for which you are grateful. They don't have to be monumental things. They can be as simple as a warm cup of coffee, a kind word from a stranger, or the beauty of a sunset. This practice trains your mind to scan for the positive, rewiring your brain for happiness. You can also practice gratitude in your interactions with others. Make a point of expressing your appreciation to the people in your life. A simple thank you can strengthen bonds and foster a culture of mutual appreciation. Furthermore, the Stoics would remind us to be grateful not just for the pleasant things in our life, but for the challenges as well. This is the practice of Amor fati, loving our fate. We can be grateful for our obstacles because they are opportunities to practice virtue and to grow stronger. We can be grateful for our mistakes because they are our greatest teachers. This all-encompassing gratitude leaves no room for complaint or resentment. Tonight, as you settle into bed, let your final thoughts be thoughts of gratitude. Let your mind scan over your day, your life, and find the things for which you are thankful. Be grateful for the breath in your lungs, for the body that carries you, for the mind that allows you to learn and grow. Be grateful for the people you love and for the challenges that make you stronger. Let this feeling of thankfulness wash over you, cleansing you of any dissatisfaction or worry. You are profoundly blessed in this very moment. You will fall asleep with a heart full of peace and contentment, and you will awaken with a more positive and appreciative outlook, ready to see the good in a new day. This is the simple, transformative power of Stoic gratitude. Lesson 24. The importance of a role model, the inner sage. The journey of self-improvement can often feel abstract and directionless. We want to become better people, wiser, more courageous, more just. But what does that actually look like in practice? How do we translate these noble ideals into concrete, daily actions? The Stoics had a very practical solution to this problem: the use of role models. They understood that we learn best by example. By studying and emulating the lives of virtuous individuals, we can gain a clearer vision of our own potential and a practical roadmap for our own journey. The ultimate role model in Stoicism is the hypothetical figure of the sage, the perfectly wise and virtuous human being. As we've discussed, the sage is an ideal, a North Star to guide us. By asking, "What would the sage do?" we can elevate our own decision-making. But the Stoics were also pragmatists. They knew that a purely hypothetical ideal could feel distant and unattainable. So they also advocated for the use of real-life role models, historical figures, or even contemporaries who embodied the virtues we wish to cultivate. A great Stoic teacher urged his students to choose a master whose life, conversation, and soul-expressing face have satisfied you. Picture him always to yourself as your protector or your pattern. This is a powerful piece of advice. It suggests that we should consciously select a person of great character and keep them in our minds as a constant source of inspiration and guidance. This person acts as our inner sage. When we are faced with a difficult choice, we can imagine what our chosen role model would do. Would they act out of fear or courage? Would they choose expediency or integrity? Would they succumb to anger or respond with reason? This mental exercise provides us with a powerful check on our own behavior. It helps us to rise above our own immediate impulses and to act in accordance with a higher standard. The choice of a role model is a deeply personal one. It could be a historical figure known for their integrity and courage. It could be a spiritual leader renowned for their compassion. It could even be a family member, a teacher, or a mentor who has demonstrated great character in their own life. What matters is that this person embodies the virtues that you most want to develop in yourself. The practice of using a role model has several benefits. First, it makes virtue concrete. Instead of abstract concepts like courage or justice, we have a living, breathing example of what these virtues look like in action. This makes them easier to understand and to emulate. Second, it provides motivation. When we see that others have faced great challenges with grace and integrity, it gives us the confidence that we can do the same. Their example shows us what is possible for a human being and inspires us to reach for our own potential. Third, it creates a sense of accountability. When we have chosen an inner mentor, we feel a sense of responsibility to live up to their example. We don't want to disappoint our imaginary guide. This can be a powerful force for keeping us on the virtuous path, especially when we are tempted to take the easy way out. The Stoics themselves often used their predecessors as role models. The Roman Stoics looked back to the Greek founders of their school. A Roman emperor, in his Meditations, frequently mentioned his own teachers and the great philosophers who came before him, drawing strength and guidance from their examples. He was constantly measuring himself against their high standards. This is a practice you can begin tonight. As you reflect before sleep, consider who you admire most in the world. Who embodies the qualities you wish to cultivate in yourself? It could be one person or a composite of several. Create a clear image of this person in your mind. This is your personal council of sages. Let their imagined presence be a source of comfort and inspiration. Let them be the silent witnesses to your life, encouraging you to be your best self. You will fall asleep with a renewed sense of clarity and purpose. You are not just trying to be good in a vague sense. You are striving to be like the specific people you most admire, and you will awaken with a powerful new tool for navigating your day. Whenever you face a choice, you can simply ask, "What would my role model do?" And the answer will guide you toward a wiser, more virtuous, and more fulfilling life. Lesson 25. Voluntary discomfort, toughening the soul. Our modern lives are, in many ways, designed around the avoidance of discomfort. We live in climate-controlled homes. We have access to an endless supply of food and entertainment, and we can solve many of our problems with the click of a button. While these comforts are wonderful gifts, they can also make us soft, fragile, and terrified of any form of hardship. When we are unaccustomed to discomfort, even minor inconveniences can feel like major crises. A delayed flight, a dead phone battery, a day without air conditioning. These small challenges can send us into a spiral of frustration and anxiety. The Stoics recognized this danger. They understood that a soul that has never been tested is a weak soul. They knew that to build true resilience, we must be willing to step outside of our comfort zones and intentionally embrace small, controlled doses of hardship. This is the practice of voluntary discomfort. This practice is not about self-punishment or asceticism. It is a form of mental and spiritual training, much like an athlete training their body. The goal is to toughen the soul, to prepare it for the inevitable and unavoidable discomforts that life will bring. By choosing to face small hardships, we learn that we can endure them, and this knowledge robs the larger hardships of their power to terrorize us. A famous Roman philosopher recommended this practice in his letters. He advised his friend to set aside a few days each month to practice poverty. This meant eating the cheapest food, wearing rough clothes, and living with the bare minimum. The purpose was to ask himself, is this the condition that I feared? He would inevitably discover that not only could he endure it, but he could even find a sense of peace and freedom in it. This practice had two profound effects. First, it dramatically reduced his fear of financial loss. Once he knew he could be content with very little, the prospect of losing his wealth was no longer a source of constant anxiety. Second, it increased his gratitude for his normal life. When he returned to his comfortable home and his good food, he did so with a renewed sense of appreciation. You can incorporate voluntary discomfort into your own life in many ways, both large and small. You could try taking a cold shower in the morning. The initial shock is a small dose of adversity that wakes you up and builds mental fortitude. You could try fasting for a day or a portion of a day. This teaches you self-control and helps you to appreciate the simple gift of food. You could choose to walk or bike to work instead of driving, embracing the physical effort and the exposure to the elements. You could intentionally leave your phone at home for a few hours, freeing yourself from digital distractions and learning to be comfortable with your own thoughts. You could practice sleeping on the floor for a night. The key is that these discomforts are chosen. They are voluntary. This sense of agency is what turns them from a negative experience into a powerful training exercise. You are not a victim of hardship. You are a student of it. The benefits of this practice are immense. It builds your willpower and self-discipline. It expands your comfort zone, making you a more adaptable and resilient person. It reduces your dependence on external comforts for your happiness, and it fosters a deep sense of gratitude for the simple blessings of your life. You begin to realize that your happiness is not as fragile as you thought. You discover a reservoir of strength within yourself that you did not know you had. Tonight, as you settle into the comfort of your bed, consider one small way you could practice voluntary discomfort tomorrow. It doesn't have to be dramatic, just a small step outside of your normal routine. Let the thought of this challenge not be a source of dread, but a source of excitement. You are choosing to become a stronger, tougher, and more resilient version of yourself. You will fall asleep with the quiet confidence of a person who is not afraid of hardship. And you will awaken ready to face the world with a new level of courage and fortitude, knowing that you have the strength to endure whatever comes your way. Lesson 26. On rumination, breaking the cycle of worry. The human mind has a remarkable ability to travel in time. It can leap into the future to anticipate and plan, and it can journey into the past to learn from our experiences. But this same ability, when left unchecked, can become a source of immense suffering. One of the most common and destructive mental habits is rumination, the tendency to get stuck in a repetitive loop of negative thoughts, usually about the past or the future. When we ruminate, we are not engaging in productive problem-solving or learning. We are simply chewing on our own anxiety. We replay past mistakes, imagining all the ways we could have done things differently. We obsess over past hurts, keeping the wounds fresh and painful. Or we spin out catastrophic scenarios about the future, tormenting ourselves with an endless parade of what-ifs. The Stoics, with their deep understanding of psychology, recognized rumination as a primary obstacle to tranquility. They saw it as a product of a disordered mind, a failure to apply reason and to live in the present moment. They offered several powerful strategies for breaking this destructive cycle. The first step, as with so many Stoic practices, is awareness. You must catch yourself in the act of ruminating. Notice when your mind has become a broken record, playing the same negative thoughts over and over. This moment of recognition is a moment of power. It is the point at which you can choose to step off the hamster wheel of worry. Once you are aware that you are ruminating, the next step is to challenge the thoughts themselves. The Stoics were the original cognitive behavioral therapists. They knew that our emotions are caused by our beliefs. To change the feeling, you must change the thought. Ask yourself, is this thought productive? Is it helping me to solve a problem or to learn a lesson? Or is it just causing me pain? Is this thought rational? What is the evidence for it? What are some alternative, more balanced perspectives? By questioning your ruminative thoughts, you begin to loosen their grip. You see them not as objective truths, but as mental habits, stories you are telling yourself. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of returning to the present moment. Rumination almost always involves leaving the here and now. We are either in the past, which we cannot change, or in the future, which we cannot control. The antidote is to bring your awareness back to the only time that truly exists, the present. You can do this through a simple sensory exercise. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This simple act of engaging your senses anchors you firmly in the present reality and interrupts the cycle of abstract worry. Action is another powerful antidote to rumination. Often, we ruminate because we feel helpless. By taking a small, constructive action related to the source of our worry, we can restore our sense of agency. If you are ruminating about a work project, send 1 email or complete 1 small task. If you are worried about a relationship, initiate a calm, constructive conversation. Action breaks the spell of passive worry. Finally, the Stoics would remind us to practice the dichotomy of control. If the subject of your rumination is something outside of your control, like a past event or another person's behavior, then you must consciously choose to let it go. Remind yourself that wasting your mental energy on the uncontrollable is the definition of insanity. Focus instead on what you can control, your own thoughts and actions in the present moment. Tonight, as you lie in bed, it is common for the mind to begin to ruminate. The quiet of the night can amplify our worries. If you find this happening, do not fight the thoughts. Simply notice them. Acknowledge them. Ah, there is the worrying mind again. Then, gently guide your attention back to the present. Feel the sensation of your breathing. Feel the weight of the blankets on your body. Let the ruminative thoughts float by like clouds in the night sky. They are just thoughts. They are not you. And you do not have to follow them. You will fall asleep with a mind that is quiet, calm, and present. And you will awaken with the tools to keep your mind from becoming a prison of its own making, ready to live your day with clarity and peace. Lesson 27. The power of perspective, changing your lens. Our experience of life is not a direct reflection of reality. It is a story, a narrative that is filtered through the powerful lens of our own perspective. The same external event can be experienced as a tragedy or a triumph, a crisis or an opportunity, depending on the frame we choose to put around it. The Stoics understood that this power of perspective is one of our most fundamental human faculties. They taught that while we cannot always choose our circumstances, we can always choose the perspective we take on them. And in this choice lies our ultimate freedom and the key to our well-being. A great Stoic teacher famously said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." This is the essence of the power of perspective. The world itself is neutral. It is our interpretation, our story, that gives it its emotional color. When we are feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or unhappy, it is often not the situation itself that needs to change, but the lens through which we are viewing it. The practice of consciously choosing our perspective is a form of mental alchemy. It is the ability to take the lead of a difficult situation and transform it into the gold of wisdom, strength, and even joy. The Stoics offered several practical techniques for shifting our perspective. One of the most powerful is reframing. This involves taking a negative situation and actively looking for the potential benefit or opportunity within it. This is not about denying the difficulty, but about expanding your view to see the whole picture. For example, if you are stuck in a long line, you can choose to see it as a frustrating waste of time, or you can reframe it as an unexpected opportunity to practice patience, to listen to a podcast, or to simply observe the world around you. If you receive a harsh criticism, you can see it as a personal attack, or you can reframe it as valuable feedback that can help you to improve. This is the essence of turning the obstacle into the way. Another powerful technique is temporal distancing. When we are in the midst of a difficult situation, it can feel all-consuming and permanent. Temporal distancing involves projecting yourself into the future and looking back on your current problem. Ask yourself, in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, how much will this matter? More often than not, you will realize that the problem that seems so monumental today will be a distant and insignificant memory in the grand sweep of your life. This perspective shrinks the problem down to its proper size. The view from above, which we have discussed, is another form of perspective shifting. By seeing our personal problems from a cosmic vantage point, we are reminded of their ultimate smallness and our own connection to a much larger whole. This can bring a sense of humility and peace. We can also change our perspective by practicing empathy, by trying to see the situation from another person's point of view. This is particularly helpful in interpersonal conflicts. By stepping into the other person's shoes, we can often see that their actions, which seemed malicious to us, were motivated by their own fears, insecurities, or different set of beliefs. This doesn't necessarily excuse their behavior, but it can dissolve our own personal anger and resentment. Mastering the power of perspective is a skill that is cultivated through practice. It requires you to be an active, conscious participant in the creation of your own reality. It means refusing to be a passive victim of your own automatic, negative interpretations. You are the storyteller of your life. You have the power to choose a narrative of resilience, of growth, of gratitude, and of wisdom. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, think of a situation in your life that is causing you distress. Now try on a different perspective. Look at it from the future. Look at it from the view from above. Look for the hidden opportunity within it. See if you can tell yourself a different, more empowering story about it. Let this new perspective be a source of calm. You are not trapped by your circumstances. You are empowered by your ability to interpret them. You will fall asleep with a mind that is more flexible, more creative, and more free. And you will awaken with the transformative power to shape your own experience, to find the good in any situation, and to walk through the world with the unshakable peace that comes from being the master of your own perspective. Lesson 28. On self-control, the foundation of freedom. In a world that constantly bombards us with temptations, distractions, and impulses, the ability to govern oneself is perhaps the most essential and empowering of all virtues. The Stoics saw self-control, or temperance, as one of the 4 cardinal virtues, the very foundation of a rational and free life. They understood a profound paradox. True freedom is not found in the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want. That is not freedom. It is slavery to your own fleeting desires and impulses. True freedom is found in self-mastery, in the ability to choose your actions in accordance with your reason and your highest values, rather than being a puppet of your passions. The person who lacks self-control is not free. They are a slave to their anger, reacting with rage to the slightest provocation. They are a slave to their appetite, unable to resist the lure of unhealthy indulgence. They are a slave to their desire for pleasure, constantly seeking the next thrill, the next distraction. They are a slave to their fear, avoiding challenges and shrinking from their own potential. Their life is not their own. It is dictated by the chaotic and contradictory commands of their unexamined impulses. The person who has cultivated self-control, on the other hand, is truly free. They are the master of their own inner kingdom. They can feel anger, but they can choose not to act on it. They can feel desire, but they can choose to exercise moderation. They can feel fear, but they can choose to act with courage. Their actions are not determined by the whims of their emotions, but by the calm, clear dictates of their own reason. This is the essence of what it means to be a free human being. Self-control is not about suppression or a joyless life of denial. It is about the intelligent management of our inner resources. It is about aligning our actions with our long-term goals and our deepest values, rather than sacrificing them for the sake of short-term gratification. It is the ability to say no to the lesser good in order to say yes to the greater good. Like any virtue, self-control is a muscle that is strengthened through practice. The Stoics recommended starting small. You cannot expect to master all your impulses overnight, but you can begin by choosing one small area of your life where you want to exercise more self-discipline. It could be in your diet. You could choose to forego a dessert or to eat a healthier meal. It could be in your use of technology. You could choose to put your phone away for an hour each evening. It could be in your speech. You could choose to hold your tongue when you are tempted to make a critical or gossipy comment. Each of these small victories builds your willpower. Each time you choose reason over impulse, you are strengthening the muscle of self-control. Over time, you will find that you are able to take on larger challenges. The practice of voluntary discomfort is also a powerful way to build self-control. By intentionally exposing yourself to small hardships, you are training your mind and body to endure. You are proving to yourself that you are not a slave to comfort. You are tougher than you think. The benefits of a life of self-control are immense. It leads to better health, as we are able to make wiser choices about our diet and exercise. It leads to better finances, as we are able to resist impulsive spending and to save for the future. It leads to better relationships, as we are able to communicate with more patience and less reactivity. And most importantly, it leads to a profound sense of inner peace and self-respect. There is a deep satisfaction that comes from knowing you are the one in charge of your own life. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, reflect on the role of self-control in your life. In what areas are you a master of yourself? In what areas are you still a slave to your impulses? Choose one small, specific intention for practicing self-control tomorrow. Let this commitment to self-mastery be a source of strength and calm. You are not at the mercy of your own whims. You have within you the power to choose, the power to govern yourself, the power to be free. You will fall asleep with the quiet dignity of a person who is in command of their own soul, and you will awaken ready to live the next day not as a puppet of your passions, but as the calm, conscious, and free author of your own actions. Lesson 29. The transience of fame and fortune, an unstable foundation. From the moment we are born into a social world, we are taught to seek the approval and admiration of others. We learn that fame, reputation, and social status are valuable commodities, markers of a successful and worthwhile life. We see the wealthy and the famous celebrated in our media, and we are led to believe that their lives are the pinnacle of human achievement. We chase after these external validations, believing that if we can just become popular enough, respected enough, or wealthy enough, we will finally be happy and secure. The Stoics, with their characteristic realism and psychological insight, saw this pursuit as a fool's errand. They taught that fame and fortune are among the most unstable and treacherous of all external things to which we can attach our happiness. They are gifts of fortune, and what fortune gives, fortune can, and often does, take away. A great Roman statesman, who himself experienced both the heights of power and the depths of exile, wrote extensively about the fickle nature of public opinion. He knew from personal experience that the same crowds that cheer for you one day can be calling for your head the next. Reputation is not based on the truth of your character, but on the shifting perceptions and rumors of other people. To base your self-worth on something so volatile is to build your house on the sand. The Stoics would urge us to look at history. How many powerful emperors, celebrated heroes, and wealthy aristocrats have been forgotten by time? Their names are dust, their statues have crumbled, their great fortunes have been scattered. The pursuit of a lasting legacy through fame and wealth is an illusion. The only thing that truly endures is virtue. The character of a good person echoes through eternity, even if their name is forgotten. The pursuit of fame also has a corrosive effect on our authenticity. When our primary goal is to be liked and admired, we are constantly tempted to compromise our own principles. We become people-pleasers, saying what we think others want to hear, acting in ways that will win applause. We lose touch with our own inner compass, our own sense of what is right. We become hollow, a performance for an external audience with no solid core of our own. The Stoic alternative is to cultivate a profound indifference to both praise and criticism. This does not mean we should not act in a way that is worthy of respect. We should always strive to be just, courageous, and wise. But we should do so for its own sake, for the sake of our own character, not for the sake of the applause it might bring. Our validation must come from within, from our own inner scorecard. When someone praises you, a Stoic would advise you to accept it with humility, but not to let it inflate your ego. Recognize that their praise is based on a limited and external view of you. When someone criticizes you, you should first consider it rationally. Is there any truth in their criticism? If so, you can be grateful for the feedback and use it to improve. If it is untrue or malicious, you should simply dismiss it as the uninformed opinion of another person. In either case, you do not let it disturb your inner tranquility. Your peace of mind is too valuable to be handed over to the judgment of others. The same principle applies to fortune. Wealth is a useful tool, a preferred indifferent, but it is a dangerous master. The pursuit of wealth for its own sake can lead to greed, anxiety, and moral compromise. The Stoics would remind us that true wealth lies in having few wants, not in having great possessions. By cultivating simplicity and mastering our desires, we can achieve a state of inner abundance that is immune to the fluctuations of the stock market or the economy. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, let go of your concern for fame and fortune. Release the need to be seen, to be admired, to be validated by the outside world. Turn your attention to the cultivation of your own inner wealth, your character, your integrity, your peace of mind. This is the only treasure that truly belongs to you, the only foundation that will never crumble. You will fall asleep with a sense of liberating lightness. You are not in a competition with anyone. You are not performing for an audience. You are simply on a journey of becoming the best version of yourself for your own sake, and you will awaken with the quiet confidence of a person whose worth is not for sale, a person who is rich in the only way that truly matters. Lesson 30. The importance of a teacher and community. The path of philosophy, the journey of self-improvement, can sometimes feel like a solitary one. It is, in many ways, an inner work, a private conversation between you and your own soul. However, The Stoics, while emphasizing self-reliance, also recognized the profound importance of learning from others and of being part of a community of fellow seekers. They knew that we do not grow in a vacuum. We are shaped, challenged, and supported by the people we surround ourselves with. A wise Stoic philosopher, in a letter to his friend, made this point beautifully. He wrote, "The living voice and the intimacy of a common life will help you more than the written word. You must go to the scene of action, first, because men put more faith in their eyes than in their ears, and second, because the way is long if one follows precepts, but short and helpful if one follows patterns." This passage highlights two crucial elements: the role of a teacher and the value of a community. First, the importance of a teacher or mentor. While we can learn a great deal from books, the Stoics believed that true learning happens through personal interaction. A good teacher does not just transmit information, they embody the philosophy they teach. By observing their life, their character, their response to challenges, we gain a living, breathing understanding of the principles. We see the philosophy in action, which is far more powerful than just reading about it in the abstract. A good teacher can also provide personalized guidance. They can see our individual blind spots, challenge our limiting beliefs, and offer encouragement tailored to our specific struggles. They can shorten our learning curve by sharing the wisdom they have gained through their own years of practice. In the ancient world, philosophy was often taught in schools where students lived and worked closely with their teachers. While this model is rare today, the principle remains the same. We should actively seek out mentors and teachers in our lives, people who are further along the path we wish to walk, people whose character we admire and from whom we can learn. This could be a formal mentor, a wise elder, a therapist, a coach, or even a historical figure whose life and writings we study deeply. The second crucial element is community. The Stoics saw themselves as part of a brotherhood of seekers, a stoa or school where they could discuss ideas, challenge each other, and offer mutual support. Being part of a community of like-minded individuals is incredibly powerful. It provides a sense of belonging and reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles and aspirations. When we are feeling discouraged, our community can lift us up. When we are confused, they can offer clarity. When we are successful in our practice, they can celebrate with us without envy. A good community holds us accountable. When we share our goals and our struggles with others who are on the same path, we feel a greater sense of commitment to our own practice. We are more likely to persevere when we know that others are counting on us and supporting us. In our modern, often fragmented world, finding a true community can be a challenge. But it is a challenge worth undertaking. This community might be a book club, a meditation group, a men's or women's circle, a philosophical discussion group, or even a carefully curated online forum. The form is less important than the function, to create a space for honest conversation, mutual support, and shared growth. Tonight, as you reflect before sleep, consider your own need for teachers and community. Who are the wise guides in your life? How can you learn more from them? And where can you find a community of fellow travelers on the path of self-improvement? Let go of the illusion that you must figure everything out on your own. Recognize the power and beauty of learning and growing together. You will fall asleep with a sense of connection and support. You are part of a long and noble tradition of wisdom seekers, a tradition that stretches back for millennia and extends into a global community of people who, like you, are striving to live a better life. And you will awaken with a renewed desire to both learn from others and to share your own wisdom, to be both a student and a teacher in the great school of life. Lesson 31. The dangers of comparison. Run your own race. In an age of social media, we are constantly exposed to the curated highlight reels of other people's lives. We see their perfect vacations, their career successes, their beautiful families, and their seemingly flawless bodies. It is almost impossible not to compare our own messy, complicated, behind-the-scenes reality with their polished public image. This habit of comparison is a thief of joy and a poison to the soul. It breeds envy, insecurity, and a perpetual sense of inadequacy. The Stoics, long before the invention of the internet, understood the destructive nature of comparing ourselves to others. They taught that we should focus on our own path, run our own race, and measure our progress only against our own past selves. A great Stoic teacher warned against the folly of envy. He pointed out that when we envy someone for their external possessions, their wealth, their fame, their power, we are making a fundamental error. We are valuing things that are ultimately indifferent and outside of our control. We are also failing to see the full picture. We see their success, but we do not see the price they may have paid for it, the stress, the sacrifices, the moral compromises. We are envying a fantasy, not a reality. The only valid comparison for a Stoic is with yourself. The only question that matters is, am I a better person today than I was yesterday? This is the inner scorecard in action. It shifts your focus from the external competition with others to the internal journey of your own character development. This is a race you can always win, because progress, no matter how small, is always possible. When you stop comparing yourself to others, several liberating things happen. First, you are freed from the toxic emotions of envy and resentment. You can genuinely celebrate the successes of others because their success does not diminish your own. You are running different races on different tracks. Their victory is not your defeat. This allows for more authentic and supportive relationships, free from the undercurrent of competition. Second, you can focus your energy more effectively. The time and mental resources you once spent tracking the progress of others and feeling bad about your own can now be redirected to your own growth. You can focus on your own studies, your own practice, your own duties. Your progress will accelerate when you are no longer distracted by the noise of comparison. Third, you can embrace your own unique path. Comparison leads to conformity. We see what is popular and successful for others, and we try to copy it, even if it is not authentic to us. When you let go of comparison, you are free to listen to your own inner voice, to follow your own unique calling, and to define success on your own terms. Your life becomes an original work of art, not a cheap copy of someone else's. How can you break the powerful habit of comparison? It starts with awareness. Notice when you are falling into the comparison trap. It often happens when you are scrolling through social media or when you hear about the success of a friend or colleague. In that moment, consciously choose to redirect your focus. Remind yourself of the Stoic principles. Remind yourself that you are on your own journey. Practice gratitude for what you have. When you are truly thankful for your own blessings, you are less likely to covet the blessings of others. Finally, practice the art of sympathetic joy, which is the practice of feeling genuinely happy for the good fortune of others. This is the direct antidote to envy. When you see someone succeed, instead of feeling a pang of jealousy, make a conscious effort to feel a sense of joy for them. This practice transforms a moment of potential negativity into a moment of positive connection. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, let go of all comparison. Release the need to measure yourself against anyone else. Your journey is unique. Your path is your own. The only person you are in competition with is the person you were yesterday. Celebrate your own small steps of progress. Feel a sense of peace in the knowledge that you are running your own race at your own pace. You will fall asleep with a quiet and confident heart, and you will awaken with a renewed focus on your own path, ready to live your day not by looking to the left or the right, but by looking forward on the unique and beautiful journey of your own becoming. Lesson 32. On justice, the highest virtue. For the Stoics, all virtues were interconnected, but if one could be said to be the queen of them all, it might be justice. Justice, in the Stoic sense, is a broad and profound concept. It is not just about laws and courts. It is about treating all human beings with fairness, with kindness, and with a recognition of our shared humanity. It is the social expression of our reason and our understanding of Sympathia, the interconnectedness of all things. A great Stoic emperor defined justice simply as the right doing of a social being. This means that justice is the virtue that governs all of our interactions with others. It is the practice of living in a way that contributes to the common good, that honors our duties to our fellow human beings, and that seeks to create a more harmonious and rational society. Stoic justice is rooted in the belief that all human beings are fundamentally equal. We all possess the spark of divine reason. We are all citizens of the same universal cosmos. Therefore, we are all deserving of respect and fair treatment. The external differences that we often use to divide ourselves, nationality, social class, wealth, education, are, from a Stoic perspective, superficial and irrelevant. This is a radical and deeply egalitarian vision. The practice of justice begins with our own actions. A just person is an honest person. They do not lie, cheat, or deceive others. They are reliable and trustworthy. Their word is their bond. A just person is also a fair person. They do not seek to take more than their share. They do not exploit others for their own gain. They treat everyone, from the most powerful to the most humble, with the same level of respect. But Stoic justice goes beyond mere fairness. It also involves a positive duty of kindness and beneficence. Because we are all parts of the same whole, we have a responsibility to help each other. The Stoics taught that we should be generous with our resources, our time, and our wisdom. We should be ready to lend a helping hand to those in need, to comfort those who are suffering, and to guide those who are lost. This is not charity born of pity. It is solidarity born of our shared humanity. A crucial aspect of Stoic justice is its application to those who have wronged us. As we have discussed, the Stoic response to injustice is not anger or revenge, but understanding and forgiveness. A just person seeks not to punish, but to heal. They understand that wrongdoing comes from ignorance, and they strive to correct that ignorance, both in others and in themselves. This commitment to justice also means standing up against injustice in the world. The Stoics were not passive bystanders. Many of them were actively involved in public life, striving to create a more just and rational society. They knew that as social beings, we have a duty to speak out against corruption, to defend the vulnerable, and to work for a world that is more in line with the principles of reason and nature. How can we cultivate the virtue of justice in our own lives? It starts with the small daily choices we make. We can choose to be honest in our business dealings. We can choose to be kind to the service workers we interact with. We can choose to listen with an open mind to those who have different opinions than our own. We can choose to volunteer our time for a cause we believe in. Every act of fairness, kindness, and integrity strengthens our own character and contributes to the health of our community. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, reflect on the role of justice in your life. In what ways have you acted for the common good today? Where have you treated others with fairness and compassion? And where might you have fallen short? Let this reflection be a gentle call to a more just and loving way of being. You are a member of the great human family with a role to play in its well-being. You will fall asleep with the profound peace that comes from a clear conscience and a heart aligned with the common good. And you will awaken with a renewed commitment to be a force for justice in the world, to live a life that honors the sacred bond that connects us all, and to embody the highest of all Stoic virtues. Lesson 33. The uses of adversity. A refiner's fire. We have touched on the Stoic view of obstacles before, but it is a theme so central and so powerful that it deserves to be revisited from a different angle. The Stoics did not just teach us to endure adversity or to find a way around it. They taught us that adversity is not just a part of life, it is a necessary and even beneficial part of a good life. They saw hardship as a refiner's fire, a crucible that burns away our impurities and forges our character into something stronger, purer, and more beautiful. A prominent Roman philosopher, who himself endured exile and political turmoil, wrote, "Fire tests gold, and adversity tests strong men." This powerful metaphor captures the essence of the Stoic view. It is not in times of ease and comfort that our true character is revealed or developed. It is in the face of trials, of loss, of failure, of pain, of injustice, that we discover what we are truly made of. A life without adversity, from a Stoic perspective, would be a tragedy. It would be like an athlete who never competes, a soldier who never sees battle, a ship that never leaves the harbor. Such a life would be safe, but it would also be stagnant, untested, and ultimately unfulfilled. A person who has never faced hardship is a person who has never been given the opportunity to practice courage, to develop resilience, or to discover the depths of their own inner strength. They are, in a sense, incomplete. When we are faced with adversity, we are presented with a choice. We can see it as a curse, a sign that the universe is against us. This leads to a mindset of victimhood, resentment, and despair. Or we can see it as a challenge, a test, a gift. This is the Stoic choice. It is the decision to use adversity as a tool for our own growth. How does adversity refine us? First, it builds resilience. Every challenge we overcome makes us stronger and more confident in our ability to handle future challenges. We are like a muscle that grows stronger with each difficult lift. The person who has weathered many storms is not easily frightened by a gathering cloud. Second, adversity teaches us humility. It reminds us of our own vulnerability and our dependence on things beyond our control. It strips away our arrogance and our sense of entitlement. A person who has known true hardship is often more compassionate and more understanding of the struggles of others. Third, adversity clarifies our values. In times of crisis, the superficial things we often chase, status, pleasure, material possessions, are revealed as hollow. What comes into focus is what truly matters: our character, our relationships, our integrity. Adversity is a powerful filter that separates the essential from the non-essential. Fourth, adversity can be a source of profound meaning and purpose. Many people who have gone through great suffering find that their experience gives them a new mission in life, to help others who are facing similar struggles, to advocate for a cause, or to share the wisdom they have gained. Their pain is transformed into a gift for the world. To embrace the uses of adversity we must cultivate a mindset of proactive acceptance. This means not just passively enduring what happens, but actively looking for the lesson, the opportunity, the gift within the difficulty. It means asking not, "Why is this happening to me?" but "What is this trying to teach me?" and "How can I use this to become a better person?" Tonight, as you lie in bed, reflect on a past adversity in your life. Try to see it not as a scar, but as a mark of strength. What did it teach you? How did it make you who you are today? Can you find a reason to be grateful for it? Now think of a current challenge you are facing. Can you shift your perspective and see it as a refiner's fire? Can you embrace it as an opportunity to forge your character? Let this empowering perspective bring you a sense of peace. You are not being punished. You are being trained. You are being strengthened. You are being refined. You will fall asleep with the quiet courage of a person who is not afraid of the fire. And you will awaken ready to face life's challenges, not as a victim, but as a student, an alchemist, ready to transform the lead of hardship into the gold of virtue. Lesson 34, on disconnecting from the herd, the value of solitude. We are social animals, deeply influenced by the opinions, beliefs, and behaviors of the people around us. This is our nature. But this same social nature can also be a danger to our philosophical progress. The crowd, the herd, often operates on the basis of passion, prejudice, and unexamined tradition, rather than on reason and virtue. To live a truly wise and authentic life, the Stoics argued, we must be willing to disconnect from the herd, to step away from the noise of the crowd, and to cultivate a rich inner life in solitude. A wise Stoic, writing about the dangers of mingling with the masses, warned, "I always return from the company of men less a man than I was before." This is a strong statement, but it reflects a deep truth. When we are constantly immersed in the social world, we are subtly and powerfully shaped by it. We begin to adopt its values, to laugh at its crude jokes, to share its irrational fears and desires. We lose our own intellectual and moral independence. Solitude, for the Stoics, was not about loneliness or misanthropy. It was a necessary practice for self-examination and the cultivation of wisdom. It is in the quiet of solitude that we can truly hear our own thoughts, examine our own judgments, and connect with our own inner citadel. It is a space where we can shed the masks we wear for others and be authentically ourselves. In solitude, we can engage in the practices that are essential for Stoic progress. We can read the works of the great philosophers, we can write in our journals, we can practice meditation and reflection. These are activities that require a quiet and focused mind, free from the distractions of the social world. The goal of this temporary withdrawal is not to become a hermit, but to return to the world a better, stronger, and more centered person. We retreat to our inner citadel not to hide, but to regroup, to reinforce our principles, so that we can engage with society more effectively and more virtuously. We return to the herd not as a sheep, but as a shepherd, able to lead with wisdom and compassion, rather than being blindly led by the passions of the crowd. How can we practice this in our hyper-connected modern lives, where solitude is often seen as a form of social failure? It requires a conscious and intentional effort. We must be willing to carve out pockets of solitude in our days. This could be as simple as taking a walk alone without your phone. It could mean setting aside 30 minutes each morning for reading and reflection before the rest of the household wakes up. It could involve taking a solo retreat for a day or a weekend. It is also about cultivating mental solitude, even when we are in the presence of others. This is the ability to maintain our own inner calm and our own independent judgment, even in the midst of a chaotic social environment. It is the ability to listen to the opinions of others without being swayed by them, to participate in conversation without losing our own center. This requires a strong sense of self and a firm grounding in our own principles. The fear of being different, the fear of missing out, can make solitude feel uncomfortable at first. We are so accustomed to the constant stimulation of the social world that the quiet of our own company can be deafening. But if we can sit with that discomfort, we will find that on the other side of it lies a profound sense of peace and freedom. We will discover the richness of our own inner world. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, embrace the solitude of the night. Let it be a welcome and healing space. Turn off the devices, silence the external voices, and simply be with yourself. Listen to the quiet rhythm of your own breathing. Feel the calm of your own presence. This is your true home. You will fall asleep with a sense of self-possession and peace, and you will awaken with a renewed appreciation for the value of your own company, and with the inner strength to walk your own path, even if it means, at times, walking it alone. Lesson 35. The Stoic Reserve Clause, acting with a caveat. How do we pursue our goals in an uncertain world without becoming attached to the outcomes and setting ourselves up for disappointment? How can we act with purpose and determination, while at the same time accepting that the results are not entirely up to us? The Stoics developed a brilliant and practical mental tool to navigate this challenge, the reserve clause, or hypexaresis in Greek. The reserve clause is a mental caveat that we add to all of our intentions and actions. It is the practice of saying to ourselves, I will do this, fate permitting, or I will achieve this if nothing prevents me. This small mental addition has a profound psychological impact. It allows us to act with full commitment and energy, while simultaneously maintaining a state of emotional detachment from the outcome. It is a way of harmonizing our will with the will of the universe. When we act with a reserve clause, we are acknowledging the dichotomy of control in a very practical way. Our action, our effort, our intention, these are within our control. The outcome, however, is subject to a multitude of external factors that are beyond our control. The reserve clause is a constant reminder of this reality. It prevents us from falling into the trap of arrogance, of believing that we are the sole masters of our destiny. It fosters a sense of humility and a realistic understanding of our place in the world. A Roman emperor, in his private meditations, constantly reminded himself of this principle. He knew that as an emperor, he had to make plans, issue commands, and strive for the good of the empire. But he also knew that his plans could be thwarted by unforeseen events, by a turn in a battle, by a natural disaster, by the actions of others. So he acted with a reserve clause, doing his best, and then accepting the result with equanimity. This practice has a powerful effect on our emotional well-being. When you act with a reserve clause, you are protected from the extremes of emotion. If you succeed in your endeavor, you can feel a sense of satisfaction, but you are not overcome with elation or pride because you recognize that fortune played a part. If you fail, you can feel disappointment, but you are not crushed by devastation or despair, because you knew from the beginning that success was not guaranteed. Your inner peace is not held hostage by the external result. Let's consider a simple example. You plan to go for a run in the park. Without the reserve clause, your intention is simply, I will go for a run. If it starts to rain heavily, your plan is thwarted, and you might feel frustrated and annoyed. With the reserve clause, your intention becomes, I will go for a run if it doesn't rain. Now, if it rains, The outcome is not a failure. It is simply the activation of your caveat. You can then calmly pivot to an alternative plan, like exercising at home. Your tranquility remains undisturbed. The reserve clause is not an excuse for half-hearted effort. The Stoics were clear that we must pursue our goals with all the energy and virtue we can muster. We owe it to ourselves to give our best effort. The reserve clause applies only to the outcome, not to the action itself. We are to be like an archer. The archer can control the aiming of the arrow, the drawing of the bow, the moment of release. They can do everything in their power to shoot well, but once the arrow has left the bow, it is subject to the wind and other external factors. Whether it hits the target is not entirely up to them. The good archer's success lies in the quality of their shot, not in the hitting of the target. Similarly, our success in life lies in the quality of our actions, in their virtue, not in their external results. Tonight, as you think about your plans for tomorrow, try to apply the reserve clause. Set your intentions, make your plans, but hold them lightly. Add the mental note: this is what I will strive for, fate permitting. Let this practice bring you a sense of calm and flexibility. You are aligning your personal will with the larger will of the cosmos. You are becoming a more skillful and resilient player in the game of life. You will fall asleep with a mind that is both purposeful and peaceful, and you will awaken ready to act with determination, but also ready to accept whatever the day may bring with grace, wisdom, and unshakable tranquility. Lesson 36. On the brevity of life. A call to action. In the hustle of our daily routines, it is easy to live under the illusion that we have an endless supply of time. We put off our most important tasks, we delay difficult conversations, and we postpone the pursuit of our dreams, always assuming there will be a later. The Stoics saw this procrastination as one of the greatest tragedies of human life. They constantly reminded themselves and their students of the brevity of life, not to induce despair, but to create a sense of urgency and to inspire a commitment to living each day with purpose and virtue. A wise Roman statesman, in a powerful essay on this topic, wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." He argued that life, if well lived, is long enough to achieve the greatest things. The problem is that we squander our days on trivialities, on mindless distractions, on anxieties about the future, and on regrets about the past. We are, as he put it, thrifty with our money, but lavish with the one thing with which it is honorable to be stingy, our time. The awareness of life's brevity is a powerful tool for clarifying our priorities. When you truly internalize the fact that your time is limited, you are forced to ask yourself, what is truly essential? The endless pursuit of more money, more status, more pleasure, these things begin to seem less important. What rises to the surface is the cultivation of our character, the quality of our relationships, and our contribution to the common good. These are the things that give a life its true weight and meaning. This perspective is a call to action. It is a command to stop postponing and to start living right here and now. Do not wait for retirement to travel, to learn a new skill, or to spend time with your loved ones. Do not wait for the perfect moment to start that creative project or to make that important change in your life. The perfect moment is now. This is the only moment you are guaranteed. The Stoics would advise us to live each day as if it were our last. This does not mean living with reckless abandon. It means living with a heightened sense of awareness and intention. It means making sure that at the end of each day we have lived in a way that we can be proud of. It means making amends quickly, expressing our love freely, and engaging in our duties with all our heart. It is about leaving no unfinished business at the close of each day's ledger. This mindset also helps us to overcome the fear of death. The person who has lived a full and virtuous life, who has used their time well, does not fear the end. They can look back with satisfaction, knowing they have made the most of the time they were given. It is the person who has wasted their life who fears death the most, because they are filled with the regret of all the things they have left undone. How can we integrate this sense of urgency into our lives without becoming anxious or stressed? The key is to focus on the present moment. The past is gone, the future is uncertain. The only time we have to act is now. By bringing our full attention to the task at hand, whether it is our work, a conversation with a friend, or a simple moment of reflection, we are making the most of our time. We can also perform a regular time audit. Look at how you are spending your days. How much time is dedicated to things that are truly important to you? How much is lost to mindless scrolling, to meaningless obligations, or to unproductive worry? Seeing the data in black and white can be a powerful motivator for change. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, reflect on the precious and finite nature of your own life. Let this awareness not be a source of fear, but a source of inspiration. Feel a sense of gratitude for the day you have just lived, and make a firm commitment to live tomorrow with even more purpose, more presence, and more virtue. You will fall asleep with the peaceful understanding that a life's value is measured not in its length, but in its depth. And you will awaken with a renewed passion to make this day, this very day, a masterpiece. Lesson 37. The Stoic Circle of Concern. Expanding our empathy. We naturally feel a strong sense of care and responsibility for ourselves and our immediate family. This is the starting point of our moral world. But a truly virtuous and rational life, the Stoics argued, requires us to consciously and systematically expand this circle of concern outwards. This idea, often attributed to the Stoic philosopher Heracles, is a beautiful and practical guide for cultivating a universal, compassionate love for all of humanity. Heracles described this concept using a series of concentric circles. At the very center is the individual self. The next circle contains our immediate family, our parents, siblings, spouse, and children. The circle after that encompasses our extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins. Then comes the circle of our neighbors and fellow townspeople, followed by our fellow countrymen, and finally the largest circle of all, which contains the entire human race. The task of the Stoic, Heracles said, is to constantly work to draw the outer circles inward, to treat those in the larger circles with the same sense of care and responsibility that we naturally feel for those in the inner circles. We must strive to treat all of humanity as our own family, all people as our brothers and sisters. This is the practical application of the concept of Sympathia, the interconnectedness of all beings. It is a powerful exercise in expanding our empathy and our sense of moral duty. How do we do this? It begins with a conscious mental effort. We must challenge our natural tendency to favor our own tribe and to see outsiders as other. We can do this by reminding ourselves of our shared humanity. When we encounter someone from a different culture, a different political party, or a different walk of life, we can actively look for the things we have in common: our shared hopes, our shared fears, our shared capacity for reason and virtue. We must, as a great emperor said, practice seeing people. We must look beyond the superficial labels and see the individual human being. The next step is to translate this mental shift into action. We can practice extending our circle of concern through small acts of kindness and service. We can be a good neighbor. We can volunteer in our community. We can donate to causes that help people in distant lands. We can engage in respectful dialogue with those who hold different views. Each of these actions is a way of drawing the circles inward. It is a declaration that our concern is not limited to our own small tribe. This practice has a profound effect on our own character. It makes us more compassionate, more generous, and less judgmental. It frees us from the narrow prison of the ego and connects us to a larger sense of purpose. By working for the common good, we are living in accordance with our rational and social nature, which is the key to Stoic happiness. It also has the power to transform our society. The major problems of our world, poverty, war, environmental degradation, are all at their root problems of a failure of empathy, a failure to expand our circle of concern. They arise from a narrow, tribalistic mindset that prioritizes the interests of us over the well-being of them. The Stoic vision of a universal human family, a cosmos polis or cosmic city, is the ultimate antidote to this division. It is a vision of a world where all people recognize their shared identity and work together for the common good. This may seem like a utopian ideal, but the Stoics believed it was a rational and achievable goal, to be worked towards one person, one action at a time. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, practice this exercise of expanding your circle of concern. Visualize your own self at the center. Then, in your mind's eye, see the circle expanding to include your loved ones. Feel your care for them. Then, let the circle expand further to include your neighbors, your colleagues, your community. Extend your sense of goodwill to them. Let it expand again to include all the people of your country. And finally, let it expand to encompass the entire globe, all of humanity, in all its diversity and beauty. Feel a sense of kinship with every single person on this planet. You are all part of the same family. You will fall asleep with a heart that is open, expansive, and full of love. And you will awaken with a renewed sense of your role as a citizen of the world, ready to act in a way that honors the sacred bond that unites us all. Lesson 38. The Role of Reason, Your Inner Guide. In the Stoic worldview, the single most important and defining characteristic of a human being is our capacity for reason. They saw reason not just as a tool for logical thinking or problem-solving, but as a divine spark, a fragment of the universal logos or cosmic reason that governs the entire universe. Our reason is our inner guide, our personal demon or guardian spirit. And the ultimate goal of a Stoic life is to live in perfect accordance with this guide, to make reason the undisputed master of our inner kingdom. Most of us, most of the time, do not live according to reason. We are governed by our passions, our fears, our desires, our anger, our grief. We are governed by our unexamined habits, by the traditions of our culture, and by the opinions of the crowd. Our lives are often a chaotic and contradictory mess, because we have not enthroned reason as our rightful ruler. The Stoics taught that the passions are not just strong emotions, they are errors in judgment. They are the result of our reason assenting to false beliefs. Fear is the belief that something bad is about to happen and that we will not be able to cope with it. Anger is the belief that we have been unjustly harmed and that a furious response is appropriate. Excessive desire is the belief that our happiness depends on acquiring some external thing. All of these are mistakes of reason. The path to tranquility, therefore, is the path of correcting these false judgments. It is a process of using our reason to examine our own thoughts and beliefs, to separate the true from the false, the rational from the irrational. This is the work of philosophy. It is a form of therapy for the soul. A great Stoic teacher, a former slave who became a renowned philosopher, compared the philosopher's school to a doctor's office. He said, "Men, you should not be leaving the philosopher's lecture room in a state of pleasure, but in a state of pain, for you are not in health when you come to it." The process of philosophical examination can be uncomfortable. It requires us to confront our own irrationality, our own weaknesses, our own deeply ingrained bad habits. But this discomfort is the sign of healing. It is the pain of a surgeon setting a broken bone. The practice of living according to reason requires constant vigilance. It is a daily discipline of paying attention to our own minds. The Stoics called this prosophe, or mindfulness. We must constantly watch our thoughts, catching the first appearance of an irrational judgment before it can take root and grow into a full-blown passion. When a disturbing thought arises, we must stop it at the gate of our mind and examine its credentials. We must ask, are you based on a true and accurate perception of reality? Or are you a product of my own fears, desires, or biases? If the thought is found to be irrational, we must refuse to assent to it. We must refuse to let it into our inner citadel. This is an act of profound self-control and intellectual sovereignty. This does not mean that we become cold and unfeeling. A Stoic still experiences the natural initial first movements of emotion, a flash of fear in the face of danger, a pang of sadness in the face of loss. These are involuntary physiological reactions, but the Stoic does not assent to these first movements. They do not feed them with irrational judgments and allow them to grow into overwhelming passions. They acknowledge the feeling, and then they let their reason take over. A life guided by reason is a life of harmony, consistency, and peace. When your actions are aligned with your rational understanding of the world, you are free from internal conflict. You are living authentically in accordance with your own true nature. Your life is not a series of reactive lurches, but a steady, purposeful, and graceful dance. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, celebrate your own capacity for reason. It is your greatest gift, your most powerful tool. Make a commitment to honor this inner guide, to listen to its calm and quiet voice above the clamor of your passions and the noise of the world. Reflect on one instance from your day where you acted from reason, and one instance where you were swayed by passion. Learn from both. You will fall asleep with a mind that is clear and calm, confident in its ability to navigate the complexities of life. And you will awaken with a renewed commitment to enthrone reason as the rightful ruler of your soul, your guide to a life of virtue, wisdom, and unshakable tranquility. Lesson 39. On the futility of worrying about the opinions of others. One of the heaviest and most useless burdens we carry through life is our constant concern with what other people think of us. This worry is a form of psychological slavery. It makes us hostages to the judgments of a multitude of people, many of whom we don't even know or respect. We alter our behavior, we censor our speech, and we hide our true selves, all in a desperate attempt to win the approval of this external jury. The Stoics saw this as a profound and irrational mistake, a fundamental misunderstanding of what is truly valuable and what is within our control. The opinions of other people are a classic example of an external indifferent. They are entirely outside of our control. We can be the most virtuous, kind, and brilliant person in the world, and there will still be people who dislike us, misunderstand us, or criticize us. People's opinions are a product of their own beliefs, their own moods, their own biases, and their own limited information. To try to control the thoughts in another person's head is an exercise in utter futility. Furthermore, the Stoics would ask, why do you value the opinion of the crowd so highly? The crowd is often irrational, fickle, and driven by passion rather than reason. A great emperor, in his meditations, frequently reminded himself of the foolishness of seeking praise from people who could not even praise themselves, whose lives were a mess of contradiction and vice. He wrote, "The praise of such men who don't know who or what they are, what is it to you?" To base our self-worth on the approval of such a source is to build our identity on a foundation of quicksand. The Stoic solution is to cultivate a healthy indifference to both praise and blame. This does not mean we should be arrogant or refuse to listen to constructive feedback. A wise person is always open to learning and improving, but it means that our ultimate sense of self-worth must come from within. It must be based on our own inner scorecard, our own adherence to the principles of virtue. When someone praises you, a Stoic would advise you to thank them, but not to internalize the praise as a true measure of your worth. It is a pleasant external, but it does not change the reality of your character. When someone criticizes or insults you, the Stoic response is even more powerful. First, you should calmly and rationally examine the criticism. Is there any truth to it? If so, you should be grateful. The person has given you a valuable gift, an opportunity to see a fault in yourself that you can now work to correct. As a wise teacher said, if anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, "He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone." If the criticism is false, then it is simply an error on their part. It is a reflection of their own ignorance or malice. Why should their mistake disturb your peace? It has no more power to harm your true self than the barking of a distant dog. You can simply dismiss it with a sense of pity or indifference. The freedom that comes from this practice is immense. Imagine a life where you are no longer afraid of being judged. Imagine speaking your truth without fear. Imagine pursuing your passions without worrying about whether they are popular or respectable. Imagine being able to make mistakes and to fail publicly without it shattering your sense of self. This is the life of a person who is truly free, a person whose soul is their own. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, consciously let go of your concern for the opinions of others. Visualize yourself releasing the heavy burden of needing to be liked, to be approved of, to be admired. Let it all go. The only opinion that matters is the one you have of yourself. The only court that has any jurisdiction over your soul is the court of your own conscience. Connect with your own inner sense of worth, a worth that is based on your character and your commitment to virtue, a worth that no one can ever take away from you. You will fall asleep with a feeling of profound liberation. You are no longer a prisoner of the crowd. You are the sovereign ruler of your own mind. And you will awaken with the quiet courage to live your life with authenticity, with integrity, and with a glorious indifference to the irrelevant noise of other people's judgments. Lesson 40. On handling insults, the Stoic art of indifference. In the course of our lives, we will inevitably encounter insults, slights, and disrespect. A harsh word from a colleague, a condescending remark from a family member, a rude gesture from a stranger in traffic, These small acts of aggression have the power to ruin our day and disturb our peace of mind if we let them. Our typical reaction is to feel hurt, to become defensive, and to retaliate in kind, escalating a minor incident into a major conflict. The Stoics, masters of emotional resilience, offered a set of powerful strategies for handling insults in a way that preserves our tranquility and even strengthens our character. Their approach is not about weakness or passivity, but about a profound form of strength that comes from understanding what is truly in our control. The first and most fundamental principle is to remember that the insult itself cannot harm you. The words of another person are just vibrations in the air. They are external events. The only thing that can harm you is your own judgment that you have been harmed. As a great Stoic teacher said, remember that it is not he who gives abuse or blows who insults, but the judgment about them that they are insulting. When you assent to the belief that you have been insulted, you are handing over your power to the other person. You are allowing their words to penetrate your inner citadel and create turmoil. The first step is to refuse to assent. Create a pause between the insult and your reaction. In that pause, you can choose not to be harmed. You can choose to see the words for what they are, the product of another person's ignorance, anger, or unhappiness. Their insult is a reflection of their own inner state, not a true statement about your worth. The Stoics also recommended using humor as a powerful tool for deflecting insults. When you can laugh at an insult, you rob it of all its power. It shows that you are not taking yourself too seriously, and that your sense of self is not so fragile that it can be shattered by a few words. One famous Stoic was known for his witty comebacks. When someone told him, "I don't think you are a real philosopher," he simply replied, "Well, I don't think you are either," and walked away with a smile. By refusing to engage in a serious argument, he won the exchange by demonstrating his unshakable calm. Another powerful strategy is to agree with the insult, or even to escalate it. This is a form of reverse psychology that completely disarms the insulter. If someone calls you a cheapskate, you could reply, "You're right. If you knew how little I spent on this shirt, you'd be truly shocked." This response shows that their judgment has no power over you. You are so secure in yourself that you can even play along with their criticism. A more advanced practice is to see the insult as a form of training. The person insulting you is like a sparring partner in a gymnasium. They are providing you with an opportunity to practice your Stoic virtues, your patience, your self-control, your ability to remain calm under pressure. You can even be grateful to them for providing you with this valuable workout for your soul. Finally, if all else fails, the Stoics would advise you to simply ignore the insult. Silence can be the most powerful response of all. It communicates that the other person's words are so insignificant that they are not even worthy of a reply. You are preserving your own energy and your own peace by refusing to be drawn into a pointless and negative exchange. You are choosing to stay in your own frame, governed by your own reason. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, reflect on how you typically handle insults. Do you let them get under your skin? Do you spend hours replaying them in your mind? Make a commitment to try a new, more powerful approach. Decide that from now on, you will be the one who determines whether you are harmed. Your inner peace is your most precious possession, and you will not hand it over to anyone who happens to speak an unkind word. You will fall asleep with a sense of impenetrable strength. You are building an emotional shield, a fortress of tranquility that cannot be breached by the petty arrows of others. And you will awaken ready to face the world with a new level of confidence and calm, knowing that no one can disturb your peace without your permission. Lesson 41. The importance of a simple life. Finding joy in the essentials. Our modern world is a marvel of complexity and abundance. We have access to more information, more entertainment, more consumer goods, and more opportunities than any generation in history. Yet, this very complexity is often a source of our greatest stress and dissatisfaction. We are overwhelmed by choices, distracted by endless stimulation, and burdened by the weight of our own possessions and ambitions. The Stoics, living in the relative simplicity of the ancient world, already saw the dangers of a complicated life. They championed the ideal of a simple life, not as a form of deprivation, but as a path to true freedom, clarity, and joy. A simple life, in the Stoic sense, is a life focused on the essentials. It is about consciously stripping away the non-essential, the unnecessary possessions, the meaningless obligations, the distracting desires, in order to make room for what truly matters, our virtue, our relationships, and our peace of mind. A famous Roman philosopher praised the simple life of the early Romans, who were content with very little. He contrasted them with the wealthy and decadent Romans of his own time, who were slaves to their own luxuries, constantly anxious about their possessions and their status. He knew that complexity creates fragility. The more things you own, the more things you have to worry about. The more commitments you have, the more your time and energy are fragmented. The more you desire, the more you are vulnerable to disappointment. A simple life is a resilient life. It is about cultivating an inner richness that does not depend on a cluttered outer world. What does a simple life look like in practice? It starts with our relationship to material things. It is the practice of minimalism, of living with only what is necessary and what we truly value. This means decluttering our homes, resisting the urge to make impulsive purchases, and learning to find contentment in what we already have. A simple home is often a peaceful home. It is a sanctuary from the chaos of the consumer world. Simplicity also applies to our diet. The Stoics advocated for a simple and healthy diet, eating for nourishment rather than for entertainment. They knew that an overindulged body often leads to a sluggish and clouded mind. By eating simply, we not only improve our health, but we also cultivate self-control and reduce our dependence on the fleeting pleasure of food. A simple life also means simplifying our information diet. We are constantly bombarded with news, social media updates, and endless streams of content. Much of this is trivial, negative, and designed to provoke an emotional reaction. A Stoic would advise us to be highly selective about the information we consume. We should focus on what is true, what is useful, and what helps us to live a better life. We should be willing to unplug, to embrace silence, and to protect our minds from the clutter of the digital world. Finally, a simple life is about simplifying our desires. It is about understanding the difference between our natural, necessary needs and the artificial desires created by society. Our needs are few: food, water, shelter, community. Our desires, on the other hand, are infinite. The path to contentment is not to satisfy all our desires, but to reduce them. When we learn to be happy with the essentials, we achieve a state of profound freedom. We are no longer on the endless treadmill of wanting more. Tonight, as you prepare for rest, contemplate the complexity of your own life. Are there areas where you feel overwhelmed, cluttered, or distracted? Identify one small step you can take tomorrow to introduce more simplicity. Could you clear one surface in your home? Could you unsubscribe from a few email newsletters? Could you spend 10 minutes in silence instead of on your phone? Let the idea of simplicity be a soothing balm for your mind. You do not need more to be happy. In fact, you may need less. You will fall asleep with a sense of lightness and clarity, and you will awaken with a renewed commitment to focus on the beautiful, simple essentials of a good life, a life of true freedom and lasting joy. Lesson 42. On dealing with procrastination, the thief of time. Procrastination is a uniquely human struggle. It is the act of knowingly and irrationally delaying a task, despite knowing that we will be worse off for the delay. It is a battle between our rational mind, which knows what we should be doing, and our more primitive pleasure-seeking mind, which wants to avoid discomfort and seek immediate gratification. This inner conflict is a source of immense stress, guilt, and lost potential. The Stoics, with their emphasis on reason, action, and the preciousness of time, would have seen procrastination as a serious vice, a thief that robs us of our most valuable possession. To overcome procrastination, we must first understand its roots. It is not usually a sign of laziness. More often, it is driven by fear, the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of judgment, or the fear of the discomfort involved in the task itself. We put off the difficult conversation because we fear conflict. We delay the important project because we fear it won't be perfect. We avoid the workout because we fear the discomfort it will bring. But by avoiding these tasks, we only strengthen the very fears we are trying to escape. The Stoics would remind us that the only way to diminish fear is to face it directly, with courage and clarity. A Roman philosopher warned that, while we are postponing, life speeds by. To procrastinate is to betray our rational nature. We know what should be done. We know the consequences of inaction. And yet we choose the easier path, the one that seduces us with comfort in the short term, but burdens us with regret in the long term. The Stoic remedy for procrastination is rooted in two powerful ideas: the value of now and the discipline of immediate action. First, we must remember that now is the only time we ever truly have. The past is gone. The future is uncertain. To postpone action is to risk never acting at all. When we say, "I'll do it tomorrow," we are assuming that tomorrow will come, that we will have the energy, the opportunity, the life we have now. This is an illusion. The Stoics urge us to act as if each day might be our last, not to induce panic, but to instill purpose. Second, we must train ourselves to act without drama. The Stoics believed in doing what needs to be done without complaint, delay, or hesitation. A great emperor wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work,' as a human being." This is the internal dialogue of a person aligned with reason. They do not wait to feel motivated. They do not debate endlessly. They simply begin. The practice of micro-actions, breaking large tasks into small, manageable steps, was implicitly understood by the Stoics. They knew that momentum builds from action, not from thought. Begin even with the smallest part. Write one sentence. Make one call. Do one push-up. Action breeds clarity and motivation. Another tool is to reframe your task. Instead of thinking, "I have to do this," think, "I get to do this." This shifts your mindset from obligation to opportunity. Each task is a chance to practice virtue, to exercise discipline, perseverance, and excellence. And when you do falter, as we all do, the Stoics advise you not to indulge in guilt or self-reproach. Simply return to the path. A philosopher said, "If you find yourself in error, begin again, begin again." The discipline is not in never slipping, but in always rising. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, identify one task you've been avoiding. See it clearly, not as a burden, but as an opportunity to practice your highest self. Visualize yourself doing it tomorrow, not perfectly, but willingly. Let that image settle in your mind like a promise to your better self. You will fall asleep with a light heart, no longer haunted by the things undone. And you will awaken ready to act, not with anxiety, but with the quiet, steady confidence of one who lives in accordance with nature, reason, and the fleeting, priceless gift of now. Let this be your mantra as you rise. I am not here to delay. I am here to live.